loser out?
Oh, it's been loser out all week.
Oh, so either way.
No. Yeah, well, I guess it's one less trip next week, right?
Hey, welcome everyone. It is 9:15. I'm sorry for the delay. This is our Friday, November 15th, 2024, 9 o'clock special board meeting for in the matter of special meeting for the Board of County Commissioners for our budget discussions. Let the record reflect that we have 4 commissioners that are present. Commissioner French is not available today. And so we will go ahead and get started with our budget meeting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you guys all for me being late.
That's no worries. Ron, I think we'll start with outside agency if that works for everybody. Okay, Ron, if you want to pull up that spreadsheet that is in the shared folder. And commissioners, you can follow along. I know you follow along on your laptops anyway. The top section here, we did put an amount in the budget for outside agencies. We filled in ones we know, like we did get a letter from Spokane Clean Air. We just got an email late last week from Haltech. And Commissioner CUNY was able to share with us the WASAC dues for next year. So we have filled those in. Also, we have filled in the consulting agreement with our lobbyist over in Olympia. That gives us still about, and this number that we have in the to allocate, this is what we had put as a placeholder in the budget already. So if you go more than that, it will take out of the amount that we have to allocate for other expenses. If you go less than that, this would add back in to the amount that we would have to allocate. So when we looked at, we said we have 12,504,000 to allocate. That is assuming these numbers in here already at these amounts. So if we don't allocate 2.5 million more to outside agencies, that would increase. If we allocate more, that would decrease that 12.5 million. Okay, that makes sense. So we had to put a placeholder amount in this.
It wasn't 3 point something, it was always the 2 point.
Oh, but if you add up those other things, it's 3.2. It's 3.2
okay.
million.
That's what.
Yeah, we had put 3.2 million as a placeholder. Again, we've filled in some of the known amounts. So that would give us 2.5 of that 3.2 left that you guys can allocate out. To the extent you don't allocate out that much, then we have more money or less money when we get to the next sheet.
So on the WASAC, WASAC will be voting on the budget next week. So it's not finalized.
It's not finalized, but this is based on their preliminary, which actually did show a decrease.
And then the different kind of assessments that are there, that is, so legally, we have one general dues, a total amount. But the different pieces are if some counties choose to allocate it out to like their planning department.
Okay.
Or their roads or different departments that can handle that within their budget.
Coming out, okay,
So it's not
outside of the general fund. Okay.
So that's why that's there. I think we've always traditionally just taken it out of general fund. But that's an option for the future. So it's, said that those are, they're kind of their areas that we do. So
Helpful, yes. So we've got the health district here, federal lobbyists, all the other. So I don't know where you guys want to start. Anybody wants to? We've got the other work.
You don't have to do Waco, right? Because Waco is now in the
Waco is
other elected
it's
officials.
in the other elected officials, but
gray that out.
Yep.
That's a good question. Was the 3.2 based on something in particular or just kind of a guess?
it was just a small, it was a small reduction based on last year's $3.4 million budget. It is just an estimate.
So why does it show 4.?
Oh, go up halfway. There's another, the bottom section was $1 million.
Okay,
So we have it into two
Oh, I
sections,
see.
basically economic development
All right.
and then outside agencies.
okay.
So
Thank
the health district, if I remember, the board passed the budget this last 2 weeks ago that I thought it was matching almost exactly the 2024 number, right? Between the two categories of
I
general
thought
support and
so
TB.
too, So that's in,
So I think I would just move over 2.471 million, right?
but I don't think, did we pay them the full 400,000?
No. We did not.
So. For
We-
the
they-
TV.
yeah.
Cause TV is not based on
It's
actual
a
cost.
reimbursement.
Yes. And we have not paid them the full 400,000. Tessa probably has that number. Andy.
It would be a
And
trend.
do you have the resolution that we just passed? Requested
I do.
funds.
They said they were gonna send it over. I don't know if it ever got here.
I mean, if I remember, between the two lines, it's the same dollar amount as last year.
I believe the total is 2 point.
I think
That's 1
TV
million.
went up a little bit and the other one went down a little bit, but the total line is.
Um, Just,
Cause even if we don't spend all the TB, we do have to. Are you suggesting that we just move over the TB money for next year?
No.
Okay, that's,
I'm not suggesting that.
okay.
I think TV is the only one that by statute, the commissioners are required to fund. The rest of it is an elective.
yes, based on an actual.
And so far this year, it's been about $250,000.
Through October.
And that's because it took them half the year
I think
not to
September,
hire the
they're a
new
little
nurse,
slower on
and train the new nurse. But next year, the two nurses that'll be treating people will be full-time
So if we
doing the
put
work.
2.41 in there, that leaves us about 100,000 left. That's, we'll probably fill in that spreadsheet and you'll see it magically change on the screen or not.
Depending on how Ron download. Did you download or no, you're not in the live version, okay.
Want me to be?
If you could. that'd be
Yeah.
Good, then we could,
Yeah.
then commissioners could see running totals.
Yeah, that leaves us with 103. 546.
You just went over it, went up by $1,000.
The 1,000 is related to a function of property taxes. So there is some element of property taxes we've had where the treasurer's auto-generated file is needing $1,000, but there's revenue from taxes supporting it, so it's kind of a goofy one. But it's a $50,000 flat payment to the U district. But I need that $1,000 of budget authority for this property tax thing that happens. It's very, yeah, one of those goofy ones.
Interesting, cause yeah, I thought it was 50,000 until the property taxes exceed that amount.
Right, and it's some function of the way the taxes are collected, and if there's a refund within that or that kind of taxing area. It's all comes from the treasurer's automated ascend system, once in a while.
I think I would have them recheck that because again, it's a flat payment amount until it reaches above it. And I don't think we've reached above it yet.
We'll look into it.
So we'll adjust that to 50 for right now.
We didn't think we'd hit that above 50 for quite a while.
I see Chris Jordan. I don't see him.
Do we have any letter or anything from the children's waiting room? Is that Vanessa Behan? Are they anticipating the same amount of childcare?
I think they went down a little bit. Were they the only ones that went down? Or was that, no, it was Chase Youth Foundation went down slightly.
So how much did you use one?
You have those requests.
They are in the shared folder as well.
Agency supporting documents, Chase use. Their request. was-
$37,000. They did reduce a little.
Vanessa Behan was requesting 107.
107.
Yes.
Is that on a, how do we work that contract? Is that a reimbursement or just a flat rate for the year?
I believe it's a flat rate. You pay them for staffing, waiting. The children's waiting.
So I guess I'm sorry that I'm somewhat confused. This is just your preliminary amount that you're putting in.
Yes.
So, because several of these, I mean, we just have to pay, we don't
Yeah.
have a choice, so.
Okay.
I mean, Clean Air, AJ Long-Term Care, I mean, it's.
Right, and that's why we got
Yeah,
letters
pre-
from them, and it's
pre-filled.
based on act, that's why I pre-filled those in. So we don't have,
So everything that's not filled in
Maybe-
is discretionary.
Okay, so I must have an older.
yes,
Yes, we got-
we physically got on Friday the 26,000 for
So.
ALT
Pull up.
for long-term care.
Copies.
Paper,
It's a me thing,
paper
so I
person.
can. Yeah,
So,
okay, so where am I going to find this then?
Commissioner, for the long-term care, it's now 26,354.
This is in the general fund folder.
General fund, outside agencies. Are you refreshing them?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, I'm in the live one. You guys have like a setting turned off on shared live things or something? I don't know, cause I see Commissioner Jordan in here.
Oh, I'm not in.
You're not in.
No, I wasn't trying to
Yep.
be. I can see and I'm just playing around with my own one that's not connected.
Is Ron on the shared one?
Yes,
When
Yeah.
he has to refresh it, but it's not
Oh.
showing him as live in my document
Oh,
like it
weird.
is for you and
Maybe that was me cutting his.
show.
Commissioner CUNY's now in there.
Are you
Nice to meet
messing
you.
around?
It's my revenge, Ron.
Maybe we didn't give Scott
Well.
edit access.
may not have.
I'm sorry, Scott.
I'm editing, just not, I'm editing to my own documents.
I think we're all seeing the benefit from the federal lobbyists.
I know, I think.
Um,
And how much, I don't believe
Did
he's 100,000, that was the whole rate, I believe.
he go down?
It was like
Yeah.
96, wasn't he, or
Just
something like
under.
that? 94, 96, something like
Jennifer Morris, are you listening?
Actually, I believe he had a competing call he had to take this morning.
Commissioner Curtis, I do believe it is around 8,000 a month, 7,800, 8,000, so that would be close to the 96.
Okay.
We can put 96 in there. And you said Chase Youth, the 37, correct?
Maybe we should put it in for now and then we can.
Okay,
No,
children's waiting room of 100.
37 or 40?
They asked for
37 is what
37.
They asked for 37? Okay.
I don't think any of us wanna see the AGC program unfunded, I would assume.
They put in a request,
I put a big request in.
Oh,
they put in a huge.
$200,000.
yeah, well, do we wanna keep it?
GC. We at least need to keep it the 25.
Yeah, that's for long.
City's not funding them any longer. So,
Oh,
part of.
What did the city fund at? They,
They funded it a lot because a lot of the people that were in the program were city residents. And so they were seeing the benefit of all of that. So. For Spokane, it's still the 2,500. Two seats. Yeah, 5.
And if you go ahead and refresh them.
So we're doing priority. Is that what it is?
There are Ron's in there now.
Gotta go down. And see.
Yeah, I think that we might. It'd be hard to find savings on the top, but maybe at the bottom
Yeah.
of the.
what did we do? Question.
Uh-huh.
What did we do for the 6,000 other miscellaneous events? So we just did it as one.
We just did a
bucket.
bucket.
What
yeah.
did we end up funding? Which events?
I believe the bike swap we did this year.
Unity in the community.
Yep.
And
And that's usually where that one, the aerospace thing comes out of.
no, if that one's down below.
It has a space.
Under the economic development. To like recall this year so far.
So when I
You wanna
always
bring
think
that
that
down.
the PDAs, the Northeast and the West Plains, I mean, those are dollar amounts that are coming in. That's right.
Going out to them.
Right, but
Yes,
but it's also, we're getting the
Yes.
assessment coming in.
correct.
So it's not really general fund dollars, it's just going.
It's coming into the general fund through either sales tax or property taxes. And then this is allocated out to them.
So it's a zero cost to the general.
The zero cost to the general fund, we do have revenue, but we planned 100% of the revenue. So now we have to plan the expense that goes out that we don't.
Okay, so, but those are kind of unique in that
Yes,
it is what it is.
it
It's
is
not-
what it is.
And it's not taking additional general fund dollars because those general fund dollars have been allocated through
That's correct.
the agreement.
That is correct.
So I was just find it,
I know it. It's more like it's there for information purposes,
Yes.
but we can't change those numbers. They're by contract.
They are by contract, they are by the.
That's why they're pre-filled in. There's,
Yeah.
it's the team's estimates of what is going to be paid for that to them this year.
but I think it's to the general public though. It's not, you know, this is what we agreed to for this economic development. And so it's not, we're not, you know, having to let somebody go because we're funding these things.
That is
So,
accurate.
I mean, I think that's what makes it different. In some ways, so. Okay,
Finish, oh, so we're still up there, okay.
I mean, I
So
guess,
I'm assuming you're
do we know
still,
what other items, you know, to Commissioner Jordan's point, came out of the 6,000?
It really is just the 3,500 for bike swap and Unity in the community this year. We haven't seen anything else.
We didn't spend everything. That
Well, there's $1,500.
There we go.
I
Need it based on some of the increases above.
1,000,
We just want to bring that down to
3,500.
a little bit.
Yeah, 40. 4,500 in that line, there we go.
Okay, so that gets us a budget close to what we had last year, 3.386. So we have trimmed a little bit off of that budget. It will take some of our 12.5 million a little bit, but cut a little bit. Down in the economic development section, as Commissioner Keeney said, the first three, the 200, the 200, and the 50, there's really nothing that the commissioners would make a decision on because that decision was made when we set up those agreements. Again, the revenue comes in and then we have to send some of that revenue to those EDs. But the rest of that is,
What's the reason for the S3R3 fluctuation, just out of curiosity?
We had couple things causes the fluctuation, and it'll always cause it is construction activity. Because we pay them property taxes incremental, so you'll see that gradually increase. But if there's activity, a significant amount of construction activity, because we pay sales taxes, a percentage of our sales taxes, that'll fluctuate year to year depending on how much activity is there. So there was some catch up. A lot of 2024 was catch up because we had some calcs that were still being determined on them. So it's not quite as dramatic. If we'd have kind of flatlined that over actually, if we would have paid them in the period that they were due, we would have probably been more in the 250 range between 23 and 24. But it's an area that it will not be consistently the same. It will kind of jump up and down.
Thanks.
It's like 22 is all it Amazon,
Yeah.
you know, and then there's the other big buildings that have all gone out there at the Douglas Park and.
Yeah, that Commerce Park was pretty substantial.
And then the second Amazon facility.
Yep.
So yeah, and so it's that incremental finance, so it's not, yes, it could be going to the general fund. But setting this up provides more economic benefit, so. Yeah. Purpose of driving it.
We do NACO above.
NACO is now in the budgets of each of
That's
the
Waco.
elected.
The Waco
folks.
is.
We did not do.
I don't think we
NACO.
did NACO.
If we did, I missed capturing that. I believe that's around $10,000.
Still say that's just.
Sorry, let's just set 181,000 over now.
Okay, so on the bottom section. Once we get past the PDAs, we have GSI, the MAC, and then we have the various chambers.
And Madam Chair, very last minute this week, I just forwarded it to Randy I got this yesterday. Patrick Jones reached out. He's looking for funding for that Spokane Trends, Eastern Washington sponsored website that has all the economic data, quality of life data. I guess the city is not funding. They've been a major funder of that, and they're not this year either. So he's making requests of $5,000 to a bunch of different organizations. GSI, Priority Spokane. So I just forwarded the letter to Randy and Scott so as not to create a public meeting and forward it to everyone. But anyway, if you guys could just forward that. I told Patrick, this is a little last minute. We're meeting tomorrow, but I will forward on. And I do appreciate that website. I get a lot of good data. They have a team, and so this really helps him pay somebody to keep all of that data updated for school districts, for cities, counties, all the comparison to the state and federal. So it's a real handy website. I think maybe he just found out from Betsy that was going to be something that the city wouldn't be able to contribute as much to. So just wanted to put that out there. It is kind of an economic development tool that a lot of different organizations, and I would think we would use it a lot when we're writing grants to state our case around different data points, criminal justice, housing, economic development. So just a thought. But I told him, Patrick, bad year. Bad year.
Well, I think we're gonna see that, you know, all the cities and county, I mean, the governments just aren't gonna have the money that they used to have. For all of this.
If he would have known earlier, he would have made a request earlier. He
Yeah.
apologizes.
Where are we at?
GSI.
GSI?
Yeah.
I've been asking each of the PDAs as they're going through their budget process, whether any of them are contributing to or using the Advantage Spokane website, and each of them are saying no, they haven't contributed probably the last 2 years. They've been allocating money in their budget to do a refresh of their websites and to kind of tailor it to site selectors so that they're really targeted towards the type of businesses that can be there. So I was just doing some litmus tests, asking so that you all had some information as you're considering this. I don't know that, I don't know how much activity we do with that website today or how much it's utilized. Or to what value it generates.
I don't know either.
Is there, yeah, cause I'm thinking,
And how often are we updating ours? And honestly, it'd be better with the establishment of the PDAs, if the PDAs were then feeding into the county and the city's websites.
But then each of the PDAs have their own page on Advantage Spokane as well. Like there's City of Spokane, Spokane County, Valley, Liberty Lake, it's all, and then it's like Northeast PDA, S3R3, like they all have their own individual pages. I was just gonna pull up ours and see what ours looks like, cause I remember we had the same discussion last year.
yes,
And when I pulled it up and our page hadn't been updated in like a year, so.
So I would say, yeah, that's when, I mean, I would keep GSI at the same level. They are in our economic development, they're our ADO. But I would honestly say the Advantage Spokane website should be part of that,
Yeah,
that's what I
I
was
agree.
thinking.
not separate.
Or their ADO funds should be used to support that.
it's just a clarification, is this 200,000 the ADO dollars?
No, that's a separate contract.
Okay.
That
And
Every.
how does
every
that
year.
number get set? Just a reminder.
Every 2 years, we get a contract from Commerce to select who's gonna be our ADO. And it's then through Commerce that those dollars go.
The
to them.
ADO dollars.
Yes.
How does this number get set?
By you all.
This has been set by us and GSI in the past.
And is there different levels of like sponsorship or?
There
Like
are,
And we were at like 270
Okay,
when, just before the PDAs came into existence, or as the PDAs were kind of happening. And when we were doing budget cuts in 18, we took it from 270 to 200.
okay.
There was a lot of discussion.
good teeth.
Good
Polite,
word,
that's a
Chair.
nice way of putting it.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So yes, so I think, and we, again, since when we went away, I don't know how many years ago, way before our time. And when GSI became the chamber and economic development arm, then that's how those dollars kind of got over to them.
I wanna say that the sponsorship level, the highest one is 100,000 and over
For what?
for their sponsorship, like their
That's kind of
Visionary?
a chamber.
visionary,
right.
yeah.
No, it's much lower
Lower
than
than that,
that.
is it 50?
Because remember, when I started, I was always told visionary membership was 200,000. And we always had to keep it above 200,000. Then I remember when we had Jeff look into it, to kind of see, because there's certain, I guess, perks you get when you're a visionary membership, you know, and then they're gold, silver, you know, however they measure them like that. And no, visionary this was like two years ago, it was like $64,000. Like we're well over the visionary membership level. I mean, we're still visionary, but we can substantially decrease and we'd still be visionary status. We'd still be at the top, so
Metal visionary,
I-
Supremo visionary.
yeah, I guess, but
That's, I didn't recall the
It's
amount, but I did know
substantially
that we were
lower
well,
than where
well
we're at.
above the,
Yeah.
whatever that.
so
What about a little haircut then, just, you
So-
know, knowing that we're cutting other things?
So I just, but before we move too far, I'm looking at Advantage Spokane here. It used to be set up to where when you'd go to the metropolitan areas, we would have a page where we would fill in data. All of these, if you click on them, it just takes you to that website for that. It's not a special page anymore that you update. It's like when you click on Spokane County, it just routes you to spokanecounty.org. Same thing with all the other jurisdictions. It's not a special page geared toward economic
Kind of an
development
added
anymore.
Some of
So
the data,
so
that thing.
Advantage Spokane has changed,
Yes,
it
no.
appears.
I would be happy not, not doing Advantage Spokane website. I mean, I think it's like, we need to find out what they're really doing and all of that. I think if we're gonna cut GSI, I would say we need to talk about that much sooner, just like any of these others.
This is the same thing we said a year ago. We,
And we're having this, waiting to have the discussion. I mean,
They
they've
send
already
us
set their budget.
A request letter or?
no.
No, it's, I
Yeah.
saw the board, so yes, so it has not come up to cut their budget. So, their budget is, so I think if that's what we really wanna do, then we start with the discussions in January for what next year looks like.
And we can have the same conversation next
Yeah,
year
let's just
about
have-
starting at the next year. This is what we go through every year. I mean,
I haven't been willing to cut it, because I think they're doing good things. So if we wanna have the discussion and have them cut it, then we need to have them in. And have that discussion. Again, they were set up, we contribute more because of the economic development side. That's why.
So I think I do think we should have them on a regular basis be providing data about outcomes and performance measures, and at least when I was at the city.
which I think is a part of their contract.
We-
They're supposed to come in
We did that.
on a regular They used to come in, I believe, twice a year and give an update on the work that they have done. And I don't know if I don't think they come in they certainly haven't come in twice. I mean, have they come in once this year? I don't know, but I
The
believe
last
that
year
is
they
in the
came.
contract of what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
So.
So for 25.
Is there a contract that goes along with the 200,000 of what our expectations are? Can
And
we-
I'm not
can
sure
that
how
be
long, if that's every
reviewed?
year.
It's an annual.
So we actually know what our expectations are, because I don't know if I have seen that
Yeah,
contract.
it's in their contract. And there is some requirement for them to come in and provide updates. I couldn't off the top of my head tell you how
Yeah.
frequently that is.
No, either. Well, I would like to review the contract and then I hear what you're saying about them trying to set their budget, and I'm not trying to cause stress or anything, but I would like to look at the contract and see what we're requiring of them for that 200,000 in terms of like the goals and the performance measures, so that then when they do come in, we have something to base, expectations on. Because maybe there's something we do want them to do different for the promoting the county, through different means, so.
When do you wanna do that? What time frame?
Well, I'd like to just get a copy of the contract, like emailed today, if I could just review it. I just am curious what's in there.
Jeff knows.
How we can
Jeff
approve
manages
upon
the contract, so he can provide us that information once I know he's on a phone call right now with some ERP.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Stay on the phone.
Yes.
Jeff. Keep working.
So I'm sending
phones.
him notes, so when he comes in, he can provide us that.
That'd be great. I just would love to see it. And maybe what we need to do is actually just review the contract. Have some stuff in there that's just a little bit more robust so that we can make sure we're on the same page with our expectations. And that will help with measuring the, what kind of impact we're getting for those dollars.
We did, I wanna say about 2 years ago, we made some adjustments to that contract to make it more clear around expectations with them coming. And providing updates and some sort of KPIs or performance
Right.
metrics, but worth looking at again, just to make sure it's in the mark.
Yeah, and I think we need to, request that as well and just get it on the calendar. I think it was a couple of years ago, we had all the chambers come in,
Yeah, that's true. We did.
so
Mhm.
to talk about what they're doing.
They've been in since I got here, but I don't think twice a year.
Not this year.
No, it was last year. We had each of the chambers come in over probably the span of 2 months or so, kind of one, every other week kind of thing. Yeah, because that was when, what was the gentleman who used to run the West Plains Chamber?
Mark,
Mark, because Mark Losh came in
Yeah.
and present, and he's been gone all of this year, so it was in 2023 that they came in.
You're right.
So am I hearing we put 200,000 in there for now?
And 0 for Advantage Spokane.
Northwest Mac was our next one. I know they gave us a request for the same amount, 25,000.
So typically we've done them based on
A special
Special.
exhibit,
And
right?
I believe it was
Yeah.
a samurai themed exhibit.
Yeah, they say that the samurai exhibit, apparently this is the first one on the West Coast, first time this has been here on the West Coast. The thing I like about the MAC is they actually track attendance, like when you go in and buy a ticket, they ask you what your zip code is. And so they can actually track where people are coming from, and they can show that people come from out of the region, people spend the night, people eat here, they fill up their gas tanks, they drive. And they always offer a bunch to like the disadvantaged schools, what
Title I.
the Title I schools. And then if we donate, they always give us an employee night at the MAC, which I think is always very nice for us to show our appreciation for our staff and allowing them to go and attend for free, so.
Their request does show that they have additional matching funds for the exhibit, so this is not the complete ask.
I would say put it in, and we kind of did every other year, but.
What if we were to
Historically.
reduce it just to like 20
in the
this year?
past, I thought.
Nah, I did, the years we didn't do it was because COVID, they were pretty much shut down, so I don't think they had an ask, but. Yeah. So that's why 22 is blank, because I don't think they had any exhibits lined up in 21 when we were making the 22 budget because of COVID, so.
So what amount do you want in there?
So I put the 25. I mean, put it in, we're going to see where we need to make
Okay.
adjustments or, that we're not making. adjustments.
The chamber dues, I don't think we know of any increases in those. It's just, do you want to stay at the same levels for those chambers?
Question,
Oh,
what was the 17,700 for other?
We just held we did. It's just an amount to cover things like Ignite Northwest, if there was Ignite Northwest going on, the I-90 Aerospace Conference.
So it was just a line item.
It's just a
in
line
case
item,
We
yes.
didn't spend this year.
Yes.
So can we cut?
Well, let's hit that.
I did ask Ignite, but when we had the conversation before about Sparks Weekend, and they were planning to give us an outside agency form, and I don't think I ever received that, so.
Yeah, I don't know what they're really doing right now, because I haven't seen them as active as they used to be.
I think they did do the Sparks Weekend this past year, and so they were telling me that they appreciated that money, they were gonna make a request for it again, but I never received it. I think I sent them the form to do it, so.
Because I always felt 7,500 was a lot.
I get an occasional email from on my county email, just saying like, when they'll have like a guest speaker for a lunch. I don't know what they do beyond, I don't think I got any emails about the Spark Weekend or anything, so I didn't know that happened, but I'm at least on whatever list goes out when they have sort of a lunchtime speaker, but that's all I've really seen them active in doing.
I think that when I have seen them do events and things, I've always been very impressed. I like that they focus on entrepreneurship and emerging businesses and startups, but I just never received that request this year, so.
Well, I'll throw out, I would support for West Plains, Valley, Deer Park and DSP, just keeping those at the same level for 24. That's 2, 12, 5, 2 and 1, 8, I think. I think those are reasonable and they all do really good work.
And it looks like the only event that we have funded out of those other kind of economic activities is the I-90 Aerospace Conference at $2,500 this year.
I went to it my very first year as a commissioner. And I thought it was very tailored towards people that are in the aerospace industry, like actual manufacturers, actual suppliers. I felt very out of place as not being a professional in that industry. I didn't really think it was geared towards governments. I thought it was very private sector networking between, you know, builders and suppliers, but I think Scott's gone more recently than I've gone.
I only
right?
went back in 21. I haven't been as well.
Okay.
I would share the same thing.
Would that be better for S3R3
And I
to
do
be really thinking about than us?
Do think they have contributed to that. They've sponsored it because it is more in line with what businesses are trying to recruit, that supply chain. I think that's certainly a fair evaluation of it.
So with that, that brings our total for this area to 4,090,000. Which is
So what are we short then?
175,000 short
On this
So-
section.
on this on these two sections, on this whole section, 175,000. So if we didn't make any changes here, we would have to reduce the amount that we have to give to other departments, on the other sheet.
And I have an update from Jeff, 8,300 a month. So it's 99,600 for the federal ones.
All right,
See,
So
under
another 3,000,
so
600 short,
99,300.
99,600.
that's not that 100,000. Okay, so 185 plus 5,
We've got the math up there on the screen.
thank you. Yeah, I'd round it.
I know you.
So is that
Doing
just
exact
in
now,
this
we gotta save
section
every
or is
dollar.
that the whole section? I mean,
Well, we're down 184 there, but if you scroll to the bottom, we have
saved 5,000.
5,700 saved at the bottom. So those together is where they're getting that number.
And again, that was just a goal.
Right, that was
I had
just a
thought it was
placeholder.
actually, yeah, on my worksheet, I thought you had said 3.5, so hey, I'm under now. The goal.
We can
Where'd you
reset
find
that.
the extra money, Amber?
No, I just thought it was 3.5 instead of 3.2, so
So for this whole
I made it
section,
bounce.
for this section, we are lower than last year. We had 4.4 in there for last year. We're at 4,093,000 now, so we are down. It is just higher than the placeholder we had put into the budgets.
And again, a lot of this is truly discretionary.
Yes.
Just keep that in mind. There are things we want to spend on, but we don't.
That won't even a
Have
small
to.
district.
You're totally right, yes. That is discretionary, with the exception of the TV. The,
But that's just
It
an
is
estimate on
No, I know.
TV, so.
yeah, but the rest is discretionary.
Can I ask a question? What is the history on the bike swap contribution?
Honestly, don't know. We just have always done it.
I have brought up in the past, I mean, from what I understand, they are allowed to use the fair grounds for free. And I think that is a pretty nice contribution in itself. So I don't really know why we sort of add a couple thousand on top like we have, because that's a huge savings. The facility itself is a huge, and I know they're an enterprise fund, but still, I mean, that's a county facility that they are getting the use of for free. And I don't know why we throw money on top. I mean, because there's a ski swap in town. I know there's a baby swap out there for baby toys and clothing that they do out there. It's not actual babies. Don't you? No, I just make a call. No, Chris,
When is
you
this?
have to keep her. But no,
Hard skip to be.
but there's lots of those swaps out there and this is the only one we've ever given money to, and I don't know why. I don't know when it started.
I do know our
Um,
CTR program that's run through the
Yeah.
Public Works Department,
Okay.
Leanne,
I think that's the connection.
I think that's the bigger connection.
But
is
you're
that
right,
it's-
we do provide free
Yep,
space,
yep.
so it is a contribution still.
So I don't know. I know I've brought that up in years past that I don't know why we do that, because there's lots other swaps out there that we don't fund, so. And in a tight budget year, maybe that's one that we let them handle. I mean, I think the event's gonna happen regardless of our 3,500 or not.
The sponsors are STA, Commute Trip, Clean Air, Credit Union, REI, Washington, has a lot of sponsors. Yeah.
Exactly. I was just saying STA can help pick up.
Yeah, STA is on it too. So.
So we can take that one off.
I think it's a,
Well, I think we did leave it. It wasn't filled in.
I think we ought to fill them in, so that.
Well,
we're
we had
clear.
4,500 on there.
I see Ashley. Can you
Oh, for the
raise your hand?
other miscellaneous, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so Bike Swap does help meet some of the CTR program needs for Spokane County in general. We do have the parking budget, so if we needed to move this out of the commissioner's budget, I could probably pull some funds out of other repair and maintenance that I have in our parking budget and continue to sponsor so that we would continue to meet our CTR needs for the county. So if we needed to move some things around, this is one that I could absorb in my parking budget.
Can you explain how that helps us meet, how does hosting an event help us meet the CTR needs?
There's at the end of every year, there's like a grading that all of the different employers get. I don't know if you guys remember from like the last event that we had, but you get points basically. And then based on how many points you get on the various programs that you have available and sponsorships and participation, there's different level of points awarded. So we do get some points for participating and sponsoring this event that goes toward like our overall Spokane County score, so to speak. It's really just about our engagement in the community, honestly. So I'm willing to, if we want to keep it, I can absorb it in my budget. And it would pull it out of this one, the kind of the general fund that you're looking at right now.
I mean,
What if we just reduce it? Cause then we'd still be contributing.
Still in general fund, even if it's parking.
Yeah, and it's just taken away from people that are paying the parking fees.
So when you talk about this scoring, I mean, like, are we barely making it? Is this what like puts us over the threshold? I mean, I don't know how the scoring works. So I mean,
Yeah.
if this goes away, are we at risk of not hitting some metric?
No. And it's just really more about, and it's not like we're getting like program discounts or things like that. It's just more about being recognized in the community as a CTR program. So it doesn't impact anything from the county's perspective of like the benefits for our employees or what we're doing or anything like that. It's just really more of they're highlighting those employers in the community that are actively involved in CTR programs. And this is just some of the points that we qualify for right now.
Would we still qualify for those points because we let them use our facility for free to hold the event?
That I don't know. I can definitely look into that.
It's an in-kind contribution.
Yeah,
I would think it
it is.
would.
Yeah.
actually,
Okay. All right.
So it's zero or some or reduced amount.
Well, it's the other that we have the 4,500 in there. So, well, actually, since Ashley's still here, Ashley, has it become pretty much just standard that HR has a booth at Unity in the community? Has that just become sort of your practice?
Yeah, and we also partner, detention goes with us now, and then sheriff's office as well. So we use it as an opportunity to network with the community, but also kind of a recruiting event as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's standard.
Well, so I'm wondering, do we just plug 1,000 in for Unity in the community? Because we know what's gonna happen. If we zero out Bike Swap and then zero out the other miscellaneous.
So we,
Just put it where it's gonna go. Don't leave it in
Yeah,
miscellaneous.
we
We
just-
know it's going
It's
to
more
Unity in the
helpful
community.
if you actually name the
Yeah.
areas.
and that is how we've
It's
updated
cleaner
the
for us.
spreadsheet right now.
Yep.
Exactly like Commissioner Kearns just stated.
Now we've got 175,000 and change.
And we'll communicate with Bike Swap. That doesn't happen until like late summer, early fall, so we'll communicate once you guys adopt the budget, so it's, is it spring? I thought it
It's
was-
free,
Oh, it is.
it's April.
Spring.
We'll at least communicate so that they know in advance, so that if they're making plans for it.
Yes.
Any further adjustments in here? Do we carry over the negative 170 something to the other spreadsheet to make up for it? Or their general fund? Bring it over, going once. All right.
I see how it plays out.
Yep, that's right. We can come
Okay.
back. We can come back and adjust.
So,
What was it, 175?
yep,
Okay.
so if we go then. That's basically 176,000. We then go to our additional collective requests. And instead of 176,000.
Yep.
Okay.
It's this $12.3 million.
Did anybody complete the worksheet?
And
Like someday I'll have
Yes.
time to.
Have a light.
Josh got his homework in early.
Yeah, did. We were updated it last night. Yep.
And can you walk the commissioners through from the last time they saw this, the 1074 to this number? Yes. I know it was a 7, some amount in the.
Yes. So what has changed? So as we talked about last time, the first line there is capital investment. Originally, we had plugged in a $1 million figure there. As we went through capital, again, we were talking about some one-time monies that we had in the budget. Fund 113 was $1 million, and as we said, there's also interest from the special revenue funds, things like that. But again, that's at the commissioner's choice. How much money do you, of your current operations, do you want to go for capital? So I've backed that $1 million off because that is a decision as commissioners you need to make. To that, then I also added $750,000, which is our estimated share of the 0.1% of 1% public safety tax that the city of Spokane will collect next year for 9 months. And then now we just made the change for the adjustment in the housing agencies. So that takes us down to $12.3 million.
What was that adjustment again? Was it
176.
176.
So that gives us about $12.3 million that you can either allocate to agencies, you can allocate it to capital, or if you don't want to allocate it before the budget, you could leave it in contingency and then allocate it later next year as you see how the year plays out. So now we can go through, how do you want to go through this sheet? Do you want to hit the little departments first? Do you want to talk about them top down? How do you want to go through this?
How do you want to go through it? I had a few question marks, just in certain categories where we didn't really get a presentation, and I read, I read through like the budget. Submissions, but there was still some clarity I was looking for, like for instance, the medical examiner, I was just looking for. I kind of got what medical examiner was asking for, like if she couldn't meet the budget. She'd have to cut everyone or a majority of people
Most of
to
the medical
0.8.
examiner was the fact that last year's budget, we had a new ME, but for only half the year because you usually get them hired in July.
Okay,
So that shortfall that she mentioned in her sheet was really cover that person for the whole year.
Is that her the assistant ME?
Or is it?
It's
Or
one
now
of the
they've got-
deputy medical examiners.
Three.
Oh,
in
medical
addition to
examiner, right?
Yeah.
Medical examiner.
So that one is to, just because last year we had planned for it only half a year because they always come out of school and you don't get them typically
Till the
until
summer,
July,
yeah.
August, September.
So the nearly 145.
Yes,
That
that would
is
be
to pay for
yes.
the medical exam,
Yes.
a full-time medical, that is already on staff.
Yes, that is correct.
Right.
I thought that was for an additional medical investigator. I thought the target adjustment was.
Oh,
to
you're
make up
right.
for
That
the-
says medical
make up for the
investigator.
Difference.
That's
I think that's a
right.
new.
That's what, I mean,
position.
that'd be a
That's
lot,
what-
that'd be a lot for one.
Yeah, I think their target
Yeah.
adjustment where they needed to get back down to last year's is what you're referring
The
to.
36.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
She
Oh.
voluntarily made some reductions in her
Yes,
budget,
she did.
Yeah.
but then the rest of that dollar equivalent is predominantly related to having a vacancy adjustment in 24 that we would not apply again in 25.
Well, question on that, in the submission, it says the submitted budget or the request includes a reduction from 1.0 FTE to 0.8 FTE for all medical deaf investigators and PIs. We are requesting to an increase to restore each to 1 FTE, 1.0 FTE.
It's going from the 37.5 hour work week to the full work week, 40 hour.
So is she saying that in order to balance the budget, she's
Yes.
proposing reducing those hours?
Yes.
But she's asking
That's
for
why
it
I was
back.
looking for
That's why she's
clarity.
asking for it, yes.
That just worries me in terms of
Yes, I-
retention of those people.
She, the way I read this is, when she submitted her budget, in order to meet the budget request, she reduced those from 1 FT down to 0.8. So that's the 145 that she's asking. It's not a single position. It is, I think it's
It's a number
three.
of them.
It's,
Several of
yes,
them.
so you are reading it correct. In that it's to
And-
restore that, to have them to continue to operate at a 1
And
FT.
the reason for that is because last year when we set the budget, we only planned for half a year of medical examiner, which they are not cheap.
No, they're not.
They
And
have 7 positions for that. Right?
Is it really?
Oh, yes, 7 investigators.
7.
How do you get to that?
This right here, go to your general fund.
Okay.
We'll get there.
So the
So I would say the
145 is to
145
keep
is-
all of those investigators at,
I would, I would say that one is,
that's why I was,
We don't wanna-
it was very confusing, so
Overtime and all sorts of
what
other
if we were just to fund that,
happens at times.
the 145?
I would do that, and then if during the year, you can see how things go. They might have vacancies, they might not, or that's where you could do budget adjustments throughout the year to summer. But I would definitely do, if it were me, I would definitely do that.
Cause if people are all gonna get cut to, they're not gonna stick around, and we need those
Yes.
folks there, so.
And they don't have a lot of vacancies. got
They do
one.
not.
She's pretty aggressive at
Tightly.
trying to recruit people though too. She's really connected to like the programs, university programs and such.
And it looks like they made a pretty big cut to services.
Yeah.
Couple
Some
$100,000.
Yep.
Keep in mind too, that the medical examiner, provides services to, I don't know how many counties now. In a lot of counties on the east side, and I believe a couple counties in Idaho now as well. Which when she first wanted to do this many years ago, we asked her to go through an exercise to ensure that she's doing full cost recovery, so that the net amount that, the county's paying for is only reflective of the services being provided in Spokane County residents. To Spokane County. So I believe that's still being done today, but that's some of this thing she's had to look at based on her staffing. Can I continue to still support these other counties in there? It's nice because it's a recognized accredited, one of the few accredited medical examiner agency or organizations in the county. And being a regional resource is very beneficial, but we just want to make sure we're guarding and protecting that. We're not paying for services for other counties. They're fully paying their freight, if you will.
Hasn't always been.
Had not been the case.
And I guess I would like to know if she's updating her contracts with them, what that cycle looks like, to
Mhm.
ensure that as costs are increasing, those.
They're being
costs are
recovered.
being-
Yep. Mike will follow up on that one.
Yeah, cause I assume, cause it was a set fee per autopsy unless it was something extraordinary,
Yeah, it started off a flat.
Yep.
so. But
Okay.
that's, but I
Good
knew
call out.
that flat fee about 3 years ago. So,
The intent was that the contracts would be, continue to be reevaluated and updated as costs change.
right,
So we'll verify that that has been done.
okay.
On it.
We've got the 145 in there for that. Again, I don't, take a step back, like I said, we have included the $750,000 for the city. This does not include any property tax changes that you don't talk about until Monday. So if we go through this sheet, what we could do, depending on the property tax discussion, if you decide to do a 1%, we could put that into contingency again so that you can come back later next year as you see things, or you can direct us to add it to a certain area, but that will be for Monday. That is not on today's agenda. So
Question.
So the 12,328 does not include the.
does not include a 1%, or it only
includes
includes,
the 750.
it does include the 750.
Question, just kind of maybe round of questions first. Internal services liability fund.
There's that 1.3 million. There is another way that we can pay that this year that I would recommend. And I would not use your operating dollars this year to cover that.
Is that fund balance or
It
something?
is, I would transfer money from one of our liability funds to this liability fund. I believe in my looking at it, and I confirmed it with Ashley, one of our liabilities funds is well-funded right now. And these are monies that, you know, the commissioners are putting into different buckets. So I'd like to transfer from one of the liability funds to this one. So for both detention and for internal services, I do not believe that we need to spend the money this year out of your operations.
Transfer from a healthy liability fund to one that needs some help, but internal transfer with no impact on general fund.
So sorry, what does that have to do with pension?
Detention also had a line item for
Oh,
liability
okay.
insurance.
They're big.
But
I
that
would
could be
say-
included in this other
Yes,
category.
yes. So I'm assuming the full increase would be handled this way for the general fund.
Another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Counsel for Defense, is that all just caseload standard request, kind of assuming that the caseloads come down? Okay,
Yes.
that's
So,
what I thought.
If then scenario.
and of course, that is a staggered if it comes down. That's currently planned to be a staggered.
So should we just start at the top and work our way down and
Certainly.
then kind of,
Start at the very top is, do you want to have any of current operations dedicated to capital?
I'm suggesting we maybe do that at the end.
Okay.
After we look at the operating and then,
Let's
Yeah.
jump down.
cause
to
I
the
mean, I
end.
think,
I mean, we can leave the 1 million there.
Okay,
Cause isn't that kind of a,
We had wiped it out.
Oh, sorry.
We had zeroed it out, for the,
You
I
got,
was waiting for-
you have an old, you have an old worksheet, so that.
So,
that's your-
after,
I like.
after Monday's meeting, Commissioner Cooney, so yes,
You got a laptop.
I was traveling, so it's like it was all on paper.
that was accurate when you left. After Monday's meeting,
There you go.
after Monday's meeting, we took it out just because there are sources of
Tuesday's
what,
meeting.
Tuesday's
We
meeting, that's
didn't
right.
meet Monday.
That's right, we were off on Monday. Been a long week.
Someday this week.
One of those days this week.
I don't know which time zone I'm in yet either, so don't worry.
Probably East Coast yet.
Yes.
If it's like me when I travel. Just because there are some one-time monies and commissioners would need to make a decision how much, if any, of those monies you would like to put in capital. The Fund 113 was $1 million. That's why originally we had stuck $1 million in there, but there is also the interest that we talked about from the other internal service funds and that. So again, it's a question, so we can skip that and we can go down to animal control.
But if you took it out,
If I took it out, we would have 11,183 left.
okay. I mean, because it was the one-time money out of one fund that we were looking at moving over. I always hate to use one-time money on operating because it just doesn't, it's not
So
sustainable.
we will stick the $1 million back in there for a placeholder for right now.
So I'm okay, yeah. Doing that, knowing it's coming from a different.
Yep.
Funding source.
Yep. Animal control, moving on. Burns, I believe we were, I know your amount was around 300,000.
Yeah, I put 302 for animal control because that was their adjustment. That's what they were supposed to find as far as savings was 302, and they submitted a bunch of stuff above and beyond that. So I was just thinking of giving them back the 302 that they were asked to cut. We didn't ask for the additional 601,000 in requests, and I wasn't gonna give them that either.
Yeah, I don't have anything that's additional, so I wasn't sure what that dollar amount was, so.
It's 302.
Okay. I mean, I would love to be able to fund that kind of community relations development position, but I just don't think we're at that position. But I'd like to consider it again later this year, depending on how the economy is looking and our revenues are looking. But I don't think it's necessary right now.
Well, and that's not even on their list.
I know, and that to me was something that was
It
the
was
real.
way down and they have it on eventually.
I just,
It was-
I think they need to have somebody that can build those relationships with other organizations to bring in more funding and more community support volunteers. And so I think that would be an investment that would reap more long-term benefits, but knowing where we are with this spreadsheet. So the 302 would keep them whole in terms of their salary and benefit increases, et cetera, that they were asking to be cut down from. Is that what?
302 was their adjustment that they were supposed to find savings. So we'll give them what their original ask was.
Does
Yeah,
that,
they do have vacancies.
that was gonna be my question, is there,
An adjustment for that?
well, if we do this is 302 above flat,
Correct.
would that assure that there's no layoffs of current staff?
Well, they have averaged, if you look at their vacancies, the last 3 years plus to date, it's been 9 or 5, and then 4 as of the end of October.
Yeah.
So they do run at a pretty consistent vacancy rate. As I recall, I'm trying to remember these particular. I believe the answer to the question, Commissioner, is no, there should not be any layoffs, but I just want to double check as I think through some of these costs here, because when we were reviewing it, Randy and Tessa and I, we knew that 302 was a budget adjustment, but they also had not submitted any sort of vacancy adjustment in there. And I think they could have gotten to the number with a historical vacancy adjustment, and they probably would have needed, I think what we did is we said, let's put in a 210,000, which is 3.5 FTEs at 60K each, and then add another 92. So it essentially gets to your 302, but you add a vacancy adjustment in there, so you only add another 92 to it. So I do believe that they can beat that without any sort of layoffs. And quite honestly, it's one of those where, depending on where you get today, if you want to put some things, some remaining dollars into contingency, it gives you an opportunity towards the end of the year, as one department has had greater success in their retention, to possibly move it over to there. So not on day one, it would not.
Could they have the flexibility then to, I know they really want to have more animal service representatives answering calls from constituents and businesses and residents. Do they have the flexibility, if we were to put that 302 in, we're not telling them specifically to have certain positions be vacant, right? They're allowed to, if they wanted to, like, hire an additional animal service representative, or maybe a shelter technician. Like, do they have that freedom, or we're not requiring them to keep certain ones empty?
You wouldn't be prescriptive in this.
Okay.
It would just
So I
be
would
a
like them to
dollar,
have the
it would be a
freedom.
dollar amount.
I'd like them to have the freedom to make those choices and not just say these have to remain vacant.
No, the vacancy adjustment would really be, there's a couple different ways you could do it. You could remove funding out of particular positions, or you could just put a negative number against salaries. And they just know that amongst all their positions, there's gonna be a handful of them that are vacant throughout the year. And it may be a couple ASRs, it may be a couple shelter techs, it may be a couple of APOs or whatever it is, but it's not prescriptive on which ones they have to.
Cause last year, I think they kept a couple of those service representatives. I think we basically didn't fund those positions. And so I would like them to have the freedom to move stuff around as needed. So they have that freedom now. Okay.
They would, even if you decided to put a vacancy adjustment there, they would still have the ability to determine which positions are in the greatest need.
Just because when we approve the budget, we approve it by department, so they have the ability within their department to make.
It just
Even-
seems like last year they said, well, we couldn't fill those positions because we kept them unfunded.
I think they may have not had a good appreciation for how it was being done, but
Okay.
Commissioner CUNY is exactly right. It's only at the agency level.
Okay.
That's
What I
They
thought
can
too, but in
spend
their
less than M&O.
presentation, that's the impression I got from the director.
Years ago, there was we approved by more detailed budget, which I'm accountable to it, but it's like, we need to give them, here's your amount. And we need to
Figure it out. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Just,
and then I think we do approve positions, so they can't have more positions.
Right, but then if they're already on the books, they can
Yeah.
fill them.
Yeah.
Okay.
do we know if they've made any progress hiring any more of the animal services? They said they had 3 vacancies and it was causing people to wait on the phone for up to 90 minutes. I was just curious if they've hired any more that we know of.
I don't know. And the only thing I see here is just the cumulative vacancies, and it's 4 as of the end of October. So I don't know specifically where they've been able to do some fill-ins. We don't.
Jason has that report up. I'll see.
Well,
if he'll-
I was just looking at as of September 3rd, they have 3 vacancies and they were all the animal service rep. So now they've got 4, but we don't know maybe
It's
where.
3.
Just curious.
CSRs,
Yeah.
I'm seeing the same thing you are, yeah. And that last one on here, by the way, of their request, the vet tech and the veterinarian. That, what I've shared with the team is if you can build a business case that shows by bringing on an additional veterinarian and the associated vet tech to provide greater coverage hours. So right now we have one vet and they can't cover all the hours of operation that are available. If you can, if you can show that and you can show a corresponding equal to or greater reduction in our outsourced veterinary, well, that makes sense. We could probably build that business case and show the commissioner. So that one there, that additional request to add, there would be an offsetting expense to do that. But I said, build a business case first. We're I'm not gonna support it with the commissioners now. Build the business case. We can come back during the year and then see if that makes sense.
So looking at this, on their agency summary, because again, the intent of scraps was to be an enterprise fund and to get them back to that.
Yep.
You know, so, but if I look at this, we really are only taking. I mean, I'm looking at this right, license and permits are revenue coming in. Charge for services is the other contracts. Other financing sources, is that paying the debt? So that's.
Yep,
just-
that's REIT one transfer.
So they're
REIT two
only
transfer.
about 63,000 that the general fund is contributing? Is that true?
No,
Doesn't seem right.
that's the net difference between the two. So it was about 900,000 that we were projecting to cover in 2024, the difference between the revenues and expenses. And this year would be about $620,000. That the general
Until
fund-
you allocate more money to them and then. Cause you just did that based on this map that's on the sheet, right?
Yeah, I just looked at revenues less expenses and it's short. I
So
know
as
it's-
you, if you add the 300,000 back in, that increases the general funds. contribution.
So it would be up to
900.
600, almost, yeah, almost 900,000 of a delta. Now, do keep in mind too, from the presentation they provided, they're already, they're working on finalizing the new interlocal agreements, templates, and so all of our small jurisdictions are out of contract, so we'll be going to them with what their new rates would be. That's not gonna be the significant amount of the budget, but I would expect some of our revenues to go up from that, but 100,000 maybe, it's not gonna be, it's not certainly going to get us where we need to, because the two biggest contributors to this are the city of Spokane and the city of Spokane Valley. That, they're not paying for their full,
And we haven't
cost recovery.
annualized any of the debt into it either. So we're covering the entire cost of the debt.
That's accurate.
End of the year. 25 is the end of those contracts.
Only the city of Spokane,
Valley
Spokane
is on
Valley
what, like
is-
a 20-year contract? or
2034, or something
Oh,
like that.
gosh.
The cities used to be that long and we were able to renegotiate a shorter term.
Oh, man. Yikes. Okay.
My recommendation on this is yes, get to the 302, but then to build in a vacancy adjustment of about 210,000. So it's only a net increase of 92 in scraps. Kind of based on what we saw.
Do you think giving them the 302 is too much?
Yes, because the 302 doesn't presume that'll presume that they're fully staffed all year long.
Okay.
So I think there could be an adjustment downwards.
So if we do like 100,000.
Yeah.
So what, one more time? So instead of 302, what are you recommending putting in?
I was just, you could do 100, you could round it. I was just recommending 210 for a vacancy. Give them the 302, but then do a negative 210 for a vacancy adjustment.
Mary,
Is
you
it
think
net?
100 for a placeholder?
Yeah.
The vacancy adjustment might be a good tool I think it's a good tool to use and build in. Then we can see on a historical trend, what happened. Hey, we built in this last year. Was that equal to about what your salary shortfall was? So having that in the budget, I think, is actually helpful. I want to defer to our team who has to manage the budget though, to see if that's extra work or if that's actually a good tool to use.
I think we've seen it come to fruition in certain departments, definitely, like detention services, we saw. They'd planned for, kind of a slow ramp up, with a vacancy adjustment in this year, and, they've certainly kind of stayed right in line with that assumption. Juvenile court, corrections officers, they blew us out of the water, and we will be bringing a budget amendment related to juvenile. So I think it's kind of nice to plan for a certain amount of vacancies, but we do need to be able to actively pivot with some contingency money throughout the year.
what would, just on the math for that vacancy adjustment, is that 2.5 positions, that kind of what you're thinking?
3.5 at about 60K, fully loaded. That's just kind of our
And
math that we had done.
Scott has all this documented, so we'll make sure we kind of capture that in our present kind of final.
So last year, there was vacancy adjustments, that's establishing the baseline, and we're giving them more, reflecting their requests, and then kind of putting a new vacancy adjustment back on effectively.
Partly, but I don't think we built in any vacancy adjustments for scraps last year.
We did.
Oh, we did, okay. So
No,
yes.
Yes, we did.
Alright, I didn't
Yep,
realize.
We did.
Yeah, we're reestablishing the baseline and then building back in a vacancy. Good way to put it. But if we did, then how much did we have? We didn't really have a dollar amount. Last year we just did
We had about $179,000.
of a vacancy. Well, then my methodology would be incorrect then.
We need to add that back in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because that would be double counting. So we need the 179 to add back to the 302, then take the 210 off.
The 302 got every position fully funded.
Did it?
The 302 pulled in every single position
With the
and said,
all
let's
in-
add it in there. We
Current
didn't take any
Okay.
vacancy adjustments. We added it all back in that 302.
That's right, because you built in, yeah, the budgets you built that you
We
created
built
was-
the template with everything back in there, the full enchilada.
So what are
So
you
then
saying?
what
is
would the number
safe
be?
Number, 302?
No, what Tessa just explained is
Go back to 100.
build back.
We're back to
302,
100.
Oh,
Okay.
100.
Went down a rabbit hole.
Was correct.
Yes, it was.
Okay. 100. 100K. All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
Get rid of the names.
We're on a roll now. We're on a roll.
We got one.
Let's
Assessor.
go.
I did not put anything for the assessor because in their presentation, they did want to add this position, but they believe they'll have savings from
Other
something with other vacant, anyway, they're reclassifying a position, so although 68,000 was in there, they think they can meet that.
And they have been running some vacancies at current.
Oh, and the IT swap with IT, something like that,
Yep.
okay. So I didn't put
Um,
anything.
Okay,
Gone.
to point out something on the assessment.
What?
There was a target adjustment of 432 made to their budget. Tom only asked for 68 for this position, which I agree, I think we need to wait on it to see. I don't know that we were wondering whether they really recognized that there was a $432,000 reduction in their budget. Now, not on all you, that's on them to figure that out, but I don't know that they, even with a vacancy adjustment, I think that 432 is probably steeper than what they can actually absorb. Without him being here to clarify that, I'm only making assumptions.
Go knock on their door and see if they can send anybody down.
I can certainly hang up. I don't know if they'll have the answer at the top of their head.
Right.
Cause
So
they've
you'll
been,
follow up on that.
yeah, cause they've been
At
running.
this point, we're gonna say 0.
Okay. And I think if they've been running at about an average of 2 vacancies, consistently. So if you built in a vacancy
Or
adjustments about about $150,000, they might need up to 280,000 if they didn't think about
Oh,
that.
that was not clear.
Yeah, it wasn't clear to
not
us here, so
presentation.
we'll follow up with them on it.
Do you want that in this sheet here, or do you
I want
want,
zeros right now.
or do we want to just make that part of any future budget amendments next year?
No, I'd put it 0 here and let's just ask them some questions before we finalize.
Next, auditor. Vicky did, or excuse me, the auditor did, they did meet their target, but they did that by cutting a bunch of several empty positions and or they did reduce things in areas that are low volume right now. One of the cuts that they did was this vehicle licensing position, which they probably really need, but they do have, I know they just had another vacancy come up I want to say 2 days ago in that department. So she is asking for that one position back.
And felt comfortable right sizing the rest of her organization based on her target budget.
So put the 89,000 back in there for her.
I did in my draft.
So 89,000. Next one, Board of Equalization, again, small 2-person department. This, $13,000. Depending on what Tom and his people do, they can get super busy. Or not. Yeah, I mean, they had a number of things, so I think for this year, 13,000, I would do that, so.
I had it on my draft, yeah.
It's hard for small departments to make.
It
these
is.
things up when it's just.
And that is the statutorily required compensation to those board members. You board can set the fee for what they receive, but it's only $100, I think, per year.
I did the same thing for the next one, civil service. I
28.
gave them their
Yep.
28 one.
Next one is the clerk.
Was Odyssey back up and running? Speaking of the clerk's office.
Nope, they're still down. I was meeting with Ashley Callan yesterday and
It's the game.
they believe possibly by the beginning of next week.
It's gotta be just.
Wow.
That's optimistic.
Yeah.
There's stacks that they have to process are just.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands.
Is the state gonna, is it
They-
the state system?
She did say that
Are they gonna
They
provide
thought-
any?
the state AOC was going to pay for any overtime needed to get documents back up in the system. That's what they're saying.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I understood from yesterday. too.
Yeah. And I'm talking to Tim, you probably talked to Tim,
Yeah.
it's happened to
Just
me with
read out
Ashley.
the
yesterday.
Spreadsheet right now. Oh,
It's just as we're talking about the clerk's office,
Yeah,
'cause this- I mean, it's huge, it's huge. Things that aren't getting filed that need to get filed that are now being hand filed.
It's a statewide.
It's a
Problem.
statewide system.
Well, no, but it's down everywhere.
Yeah,
Yes,
across the
everywhere's
state.
Everyone's
Yeah.
doing it by Excel
Yes.
spreadsheet right now.
And
So
Then
like,
they gotta go back and re-enter those at some point.
So much every day.
The judges like.
and it's been down for 2 weeks.
Yes, this is week 2.
I think this is the start of week 3. I think it's been down for 2 weeks.
I think it was the
It was, yeah, the end
beginning
of
of
a
last,
week
beginning of
weekend.
last week.
This second weekend,
it's okay.
they had the third.
And next week will be week 3.
So and they're only optimistic about getting it back. on.
Right before the election.
Yeah, I was just thinking my law library meeting, it was down.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. And then I was gone last week, so this is the start of the 3rd week,
I'm keeping it. pulse.
You're going this week, yeah.
This week.
or this week. There we go, sorry. I don't know.
That's what-
Mary, what time zone are you
It's
at?
still this week.
Keep drinking that coffee.
Your body thinks it's 1:45 in the afternoon. Come on.
And a Monday again, probably.
I feel like I'm playing roles of Where's Waldo, I don't know where. Okay,
Mary.
sorry. Okay,
I thought the clerk gave a great presentation. And he doesn't run many vacancies. I didn't see any reason not to fund his request.
If you went
Sounds like
through,
it's
I think you went through everything, it appears, with a pretty fine tooth comb. And I do know he said there was increases that he can't control around like mailing things out or something with postage or anyway.
I think he's pretty
I-
statutorily required to do
I,
everything.
I gave him everything except number 7. Because I remembered that was a vacant position that he hadn't filled, correct?
And they do have hard times filling their work. Actually, that was a new position.
That was a new.
Oh, it was new.
Yeah,
That was
Okay.
new.
that was because
That's why I didn't
Yes.
fill that one.
There's no vacancies.
Okay.
Tim
There's
and
no-
one other staff oftentimes will rotated to a court clerk when they're absent or whatnot.
So I filled everything but number 7.
And just as a reminder, number 8 is positions that were funded from another funding source. That funding source is dried up, so that would be new bodies paid out of the general fund.
Correct.
And
The bodies
those,
that are already working.
Yes.
That is accurate. They are already county employees.
It's a recording fee or something that pays for them, but that's,
Declining.
And
Recording
it's
is way down.
related to archiving.
it's archiving, this is not like regular body of work. So it would slow down archiving if it's not funded.
Did he speak much to that new position, like budget presentation?
That was to, he did talk about, there are many times that he
Oh,
can
right,
tell,
they fill in, yeah.
or they will fill in if someone is out sick or on vacation. So this was to have an extra body to help with those situations.
You called that out in the presentation.
So if we don't do that, it's about $352,000. If you did everything except the 58, be $352,000 you'd have.
I just don't know if we're in a position where we can fund kind of floating positions like that that are needed if someone's sick, if someone's on vacation. I don't know. That's why I left that one out.
But
Well,
that's
actually, no, I left it out because I actually thought it was a vacant, I thought, but you guys have made my argument for me, like, I have a new reason
But
why.
that-
Throw out the old reason.
Yeah.
Cover that
This is the
position.
issue.
You must have other funds to do the difference.
No, based on. their pay.
They are not
But what about
very
like
expensive
benefits?
That
positions.
includes that.
Wow.
What do you guys at?
So I think we're just sort of debating on sort of that floating position.
Yeah, it's either at 352 or 410.
The 58,000,
The new
number
position.
7 on the sheet on, because it's essentially, it's utilized if someone's out. But I mean, I'm sure they find other work if someone isn't
Yeah,
out, but I don't know
I
what
would
that work
consider.
is. I don't know.
Is
13 courts now,
the,
plus all the commissioners.
So I don't know. I said I didn't think we were in a position where we can really hire floating positions like that are, I don't know. That's where I was at. I think we were getting.
maybe we can take it out for now, and if we learn.
Come
new
back
information.
when we see what the total is at the end.
Well, again, he can, within his budget, make adjustments to that. Because for staff. He slows down the archiving, he can afford. That position. I know.
So everything but the new position.
So $352,000.
Commissioner's budget. Had a target adjustment of 41,000, which is basically your travel accounts that we weren't able to cover because of, staff wage increases. Want to add that back in, so it's about, that would take your travel from 17 to about
So I would.
17, it was 13.
excuse
Oh.
me, what, 5.
Well, I looked at the commissioner budget and there's like a 10,000 for maybe like
Other
other
professional
professional
services.
contracts. We didn't use that this year. Is that something that we could?
I think we used part of it for the recall.
Oh, maybe it hasn't shown up in the
Yeah.
For what?
accounting yet.
The recall for the prosecutor that was hired.
Was that used for like the retreat first year that we started?
We've used it, yeah, for different,
Yeah,
or different
I think it's been
things.
kind of not specifically identified, but as
Anyway, that was one thing we could cut it in half, or there's other,
you could
Thoughts?
do
Make
it,
it
you
to
could do a
5.
budget, you can always do a budget amendment later if there's something that pops up.
Right.
'cause it's kind of like that would be a one-time thing to hire somebody for something you can't really predict.
So just add 9 back.
Um,
Oh, I'm
Sen-
sorry. 41 is.
So we would just be
They're
adding
talking about
30.
something that's not referenced on here.
Yeah.
You're sa-
That's part of our total.
yeah.
What are you told?
Oh, is that part of the,
The commissioner's budget. I was just looking for ways we could look to.
is the
cut
10 a
commissioners.
part of the 41 that they're referencing?
Yes.
Well, no,
He's saying no.
it's just our.
That's part of
cuts.
your basic budget, so if you gave up 10, we could add back less,
Gotcha.
that's accurate.
Be netting out whatever you decide to reduce that.
So you're saying 31 back? Is that what you-
Well, I mean, I'm willing to cut my travel budget by a bit. I don't know what
Yeah,
other
I would say
commissioners,
just put travel to 10.
Okay,
that would be 15,000, 5
Yep.
commissioners. Plus the 10,
10
it's 25, so we would have to add back 16.
and we're comfortable with all the other. Like office supplies and everything else, we're pretty much right at the
You just
level.
won't be able to have pens and pencils.
No pens or pencils.
Grab them all at the conferences that
Take
you're
them all.
able to afford to go to
Yeah,
next
give me all
year.
the pens
for your
before next
travel
year.
budget.
Well, and that's gonna depend too, because we got the salary commission.
Exactly.
Yep,
I mean, so
right.
they're gonna set whatever the salary is.
And we
We don't know.
we'd contemplated an increase related to that, so we'll see, that may change in actuality, compared to our estimates, so that may give a little.
This could go up.
Or it could go the other way. So
Hopefully
there
it
will
doesn't
be
cost us.
changes probably to this budget next year anyway.
So the travel budgets are currently
13.
13, so you're suggesting taking 3 off of each. Okay.
10, because, yeah, I think we just have to be more strategic as to like what we're using those for. I know Commissioner French and I did quite a bit of our travels reimbursed through WASAC or, either different things, but yeah. I think it's important to be able to go see things that we need to see or go to a conference, you know, so like we'll all be going to the county leaders conference, which will, I don't know if we're all going, come out of our budgets.
My thought was to wait to add anything back to ours till the end. Honestly, just because we have a tough situation all over and see if we can add the 10 back or the whatever it is back on each. But we can always come back and look at it again. Or we could just defund Josh's office and reallocate it all to the rest of us.
Oh, I'm sorry, who's gonna run Zoom? Yeah, try it.
We'll see if I can get 3 votes.
AI. The AI, it'll be AI.
AI, Ron. I'm cool with that.
So did you wanna just
We
leave
have
it blank or
16.
put a placeholder?
We put the 16,000.
We'll just come back to it.
Okay,
So we're at 60 on that. And then.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
That's
then we cut that other 10 grand that we can always.
Yep.
Look to a one-time. Budget amendment, yeah.
Cooperative extension, I know Scott had a lot to talk about that right there.
It doesn't have anything in there.
We're just keeping it the
Yeah,
same.
it's blank.
Yeah,
Well,
so we
there was
do
no-
have some due fees there. That we could use instead of general fund money of about 100 and
That sheet, right?
It's you said 120,000 in total due fees that we could roll over and apply against this year's budget.
And we also do know that, I know we need to look at their staffing model because the director is going to not full-time next year. And so there may be some other savings, maybe not in 25, but you will want to look for in 26 in regard to the contract with WSU Extension. Because they will be having less staffing that they're paying for here.
They're going to like a regional model for their directors. And this is a year knowing that up to the commissioners. But knowing that WSU extension support is completely discretionary by the commission. There's no statutory obligation. They've shared with us, they've started to share with us some of what other counties contribute, and it's all over the board. Anywhere from 0 to, I think King County does a pretty substantial portion. So right now, our contract, we spend about, I think, 500K in total WSU
Yes.
cooperative extension. A little over 300 goes to directly to WSU. Completely discretionary, up to the commissioner's decision on how much that is. So if there's a desire to start stepping that down a little bit, this might be the year to do that. But it's completely your guys' call. I know there's been questions around what the obligations are, and it's there is no obligation. It's really it's the obligations with WSU as a land grant university to provide the funding and the support for this. So whether or not the counties participate is up to each county individually.
So I guess before we look to that, then that would be another presentation we need to go. You know, based on that, what are we seeing from other counties? What is WSU's obligation? I mean, it's like, I don't know what their statutory obligation is. And then the services that are being provided, because I mean, there is a lot of benefits to, it's the Master Gardener program, it's the food safety program, it's these different programs that kind of like scraps or not scraps, scope, where you put a little bit of money in and the volunteer dollars are exponential. So I guess that's what I just would want to really dive a little deeper into what that looks like. You know, it's like $500,000. So we could.
Yes. It's about a half.
$500,000 is what we spend out there
Because we have
for,
3 employees also,
yeah.
and that is in addition to the space.
And remember too, we contribute that space. So that's a zero lease cost to WSU extension for being in there. So that's an in-kind dollar amount that's on top of the 500,000 that's invested in from the budget.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it definitely could be a future item that we need to look at, but I don't know that I'm willing to make the cut this year. But we need to really do that deep dive.
We could cut up to 120 this year without cutting anything by having them use their duty balances.
I guess I need to look at what those balances are and,
That's 120, their total 120.
but what's the renewal rate for them? Is it a fund balance that's sitting there in that Duke account
Yes,
that we would just use its one-time money?
yes,
So that, I mean, that's what,
that is a one-time only.
okay, so that's why.
We'd step them down next year from that, like you're talking about
Have time to
delaying it next year. It helps us this year. They're gonna be kept whole though, and then begin that step down
Have
next
that
year.
other discussion, yeah.
And make sure that they're very
Look at it.
aware of it immediately, that, hey, the step down is starting next year. I mean, we can give them 12 months notice, over 12 months notice.
Yeah, or, you know, keep it same this year, we step it down next year. And reduce the general fund amount by using the Duke fee to continue. to use. So when there's a lot of scenarios that we haven't looked at. So. And
We'll just put a 0 in there for now then.
Well, I thought I heard
Is that
used
what
due
you're-
fees, 120,000.
use Duke fees, but we don't need to allocate any additional expenditure authority.
I was not willing to use Duke fees, so the rest of you are, that's
Oh.
your choice.
Yeah, I heard 2 different things.
I've tried to push this for a couple of years,
Yeah,
our
and I've
spending
always
there,
said
and you've always said, we'll address it next year, we'll address it next year, and we never address it next year, so.
Stepped out of the room at the wrong time. I'm the deciding vote.
You are the deciding vote.
I need more information. Just weighing in right this second.
Specifically, which you guys like.
I missed the context
um,
of what the amounts are.
So WSU extension, the full budget for the county is about $500,000. 300,000 is paid directly to WSU for their staff and services. 200,000 is our own, about 3, it's not full 3 FTE, but 3 employees who work out there, as well as office supplies and whatnot. The county also provides the use of the building that we own out at the fairgrounds for free. So there is a value to that as well. There is no statutory obligation for counties to provide dollars to WSU Extension. They're a land grant university, and because of that, they're obligated to provide these services, whether it's 4-H, any of the programs that they do under that umbrella. So there is about $120,000 in carryover fund balance that hasn't been, that was carried over from previous years, that is available for the commissioners to apply against the $500,000 this year, as well as, did you want to do any adjustments to the amount that's contributed to WSU? There's the counties across the state are all over the board. Some contribute a substantial amount, King County, some contribute none. There is no consistency in how it's done. So that was the overview that was given before you came.
So we don't have anything in here as a target adjustment.
Correct. They met their last year.
They're wanting to do additional.
They're asking for more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you additional cut.
People are asking to use due fee balance as a one-time balance to reduce the general fund amount of the $500,000.
What does the due fee come from?
It was from registrations for master gardeners, I believe, and one was.
There's one related to horticulture, and it's, duplication, registration fees, the annual budget for next year for the registration fees is $9,000.
But then when they go through the program, they're volunteering hours back. So if you do the food safety program, people are canning, all of those things, they then provide volunteer hours for the service line.
Is that a function of county government to teach people how to can? I missed that at Wasac, I guess.
So the question is, do we leave a zero in here? Do you want a negative amount in here?
Why don't you leave it zero for now and we continue?
Got 2 zeros. Okay. We can,
I'm using the fees.
I mean, if the money is sitting there, I would much rather them pay for their own activities with money they've
They're
raised
bringing in from
than putting the
doing
burden on our county
we can either
budget
put a
for
zero.
functions that aren't county government
or we can
functions.
Come back to this.
Move on to council
Split.
defense now
I
and
guess we're moving on for
see
now.
if we get there later in the spreadsheet.
Just say to come back.
Okay. So that's a comeback one. Council for Defense, this is new requests.
Yes, however, they did not address their target adjustment of $41,000. And they typically run no vacancies.
So to keep their current staff, we would have to add back 41,000.
So I guess, Randy, my question, because you alluded to this earlier, so is this increase for the anticipated caseload standards changing?
Yes.
Changing the full amount or what they think the actual change will be for next year? Because there's been discussion of a phase in all at once. I mean, we don't know where that's gonna be.
We don't know what the.
So is this worst case scenario?
Her
Like, are they overshooting what they're gonna need, I guess?
her notes reference the 2-year phase in.
Phase 1 beginning in July of 25.
Yeah. But I don't know if she
So
has.
she says only half year of salary and benefits costs of moving to this.
I think we don't need to budget for it. It's gonna be an amendment that
Right.
we're gonna have to do.
That's what I would recommend. I would recommend putting 41,000 in here for their current existing staff.
So 41, nowhere near the 960. Wow.
The 965 is, but you're gonna have to address that again when those case
Yeah.
standards, those case standards have been.
The only thing I would add is when, it's public defenders, counsel for defense, and then if we have to go outside for contracting. If adding one more here would reduce our contract.
or we leave the money in contingency so that you can have, I mean, it sounds like you need more information to know that information, right?
I would be curious
Unless
to know, yeah,
Director
does it make
Carver-
more sense to have an additional public defender to take the case initially? Or is it they're having an increased number of conflicts?
I think you have to look at the overall picture of it when it, when it arises. So if you look at it, if you add more to council defense without adding some to public defenders, you're causing an imbalance on that side of it. So I think, in my viewpoint, I would wait to see what happens, but I mean, is it still in the court system right now? Yeah.
Well, the caseload standard changes are at the state Supreme Court level, waiting for them to make a decision. They have not made a decision.
And just, so you, no,
Separate that on.
so can you tell me, they theoretically, they could say, okay, we're gonna reduce it 25%, 50%, so like they can go anywhere on that rate, right? And nobody knows for sure where they're gonna end
Exactly
up.
where that's going.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
okay.
Some counties have, in their contracts, have said that once the Attorneys Association, once they set, recommend those caseload standards to the state Supreme Court, that those counties adopt them at that point in time.
Even when they don't know what.
Snohomish and I think King might be the other ones that automatically adopt them. We're not there, we're waiting for the state to make that decision. But then there's lots of discussion in the legislature. I mean, there's so much moving pieces to this. There's the Wasatch lawsuit that, but I do know, like, talking to Victoria, like if you've got 3 people that are arrested that are part of the same group, they have to have counsel for defense, gotta have public defender, and then the third person has to go out to a contract, so. But not all of them, I mean, and then sometimes it's like there's 2 people, that is one here and one there. So, I mean, that's where, I don't know how much she's having to contract out because she doesn't have the staff to do it versus, and to what.
My understanding is she never does contract out. It always falls back to the
Oh,
conduct
PD.
office and PD.
That's
So
her
but I
colleagues who
think,
would do it.
I think you raise a really good question. I think I know the answer, but if you hire more attorneys, could that reduce our outsourced costs? I believe we need to ask them that question.
I think
believe
you
the
have to stand up
conflicts.
your own
We'd have to have a
second
third one,
counsel for
yes.
defense.
So I don't think it
Which-
does, but
yes.
it's, I think the way it's set up right now is the optimal solution unless you set up another one. Cause remember that Colin came in and presented
Yeah.
that a year ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there is that apples to apples reduction that you can see in it.
But they-
So-
But Randy, they did ask for an increase in the contracting amount this year.
Well, that's a public
In the
defender
PD,
down below,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Still in the seas.
Those seats. So the 41,000, the 41,000 for counsel for defense, the target adjustment would be able to help them, because they're mostly their salaries, right? So it would help them address their contractual salary increases. And is it the move to 40 as well?
They already, did they already move to 40?
They
Oh,
moved
they
the
did,
but that
timing
was-
of that move. Let
Well,
me check. We made
I
sure the
think we-
public, we
think
got the
we-
prosecutor's office.
We looked at that, we went through here, but just verify, but if that's the case, I think 41 is all they need for meeting their current staffing, budget staffing obligation for next year.
Yes, that is a good question. Does it include the additional 40 hours?
Yeah, I think that's what we'll verify. I think we did, but we'll double check.
Okay. Department of
So-
Emergency Management.
Well, so what so 41 is what we're thinking, okay.
And we're just checking to make sure that included them at 40 versus 37.
That you don't get any salary increase.
You're on the Amacio pay scale now?
Big transition to senior
They
volunteer.
didn't tell you that? They didn't tell you that?
Congratulations.
Get a title though, better title.
Hey, yeah, get a parking spot. That's all you need.
DEM, again, if they were fully funded, there was an $8,000 adjustment. They do currently have 2 vacant positions. I don't know on the status of filling those.
I put
One
it
is
in,
grant
but-
funded, I believe. Yes, one of them is
So
grant funded.
it,
the other one
it is only $8,000, so we could put that in. Detention services. I did speak with Bryce last week. To keep all of their existing staff, which includes the program staff at Geiger, we would need to allocate 3.6 million to keep them. They do have program staff out at Geiger, that would, if you did not fund those, that would save 180,000. But for their current officers, they have, and this would be about a 20 vacancy adjustment. That 3.6 would include 20 vacant positions. They're currently at 25, I want to say. They expect to be adding so that for the whole year, effectively, they would have 20. You know, they might start out at 25, they'll work themselves down to 20, end up at 15. You know, they've got another class coming in, I think it's next month, of 5 people, but they're gonna lose 3 to retirement. So, but this does build in a 20 vacancy adjustment. If you fund everything, it would be $3.6 million.
Not the 5.45?
No,
Okay.
And then the liability insurance is coming out of
Yes.
different.
Yep, don't
So-
need that one. So ignore,
Question about the program staff, I didn't, that
Yes.
includes the program
that
staff?
includes the
Okay,
program
okay.
staff as well. That's correct.
and work crew, you know, the limited work crews that we have. So we went through this with Dawn in detail. It was actually 19 that we agreed to for a vacancy adjustment. From beginning of the year to the end of the year, average of 19. He felt that was appropriate. We reduced overtime a little bit, recognizing there'll be more staff coming on. Didn't need, so we just ignored the candidate offer stage, the custody officers. We just merged them together and said, what do we think we need to meet staffing needs today, plus what they think they're going to have coming on realistically throughout next year.
That include the medical contract.
It includes the medical contract as is. There could be a potential adjustment we would have to make to there once we find out what the new contract looks like.
So it includes 1.5 million.
No, it doesn't. It
Yeah,
includes,
It includes the current medical contract, which is like 9.5, if I remember correctly. Based on the new medical contract, but we don't have, there may be other funding sources for that as well.
so once we get through so it includes flat run rate on the medical, so no additional 1.5. 9.5.
9.5, I believe, Mike.
Oh, that you're saying that's already in the budget.
That is already in the budget.
Yeah, that is not the additional increase
Oh.
request they've asked for. Once we get through the contract and have a better idea around what the cost might look like, medical and mental health, then we'll have some ideas there. Yeah, all costs.
So 3.6 will keep
Yes.
them
Yes.
where they're good.
Yes,
Okay.
from a staffing standpoint. And the only outside thing there would be the medical contract, which is not completed yet, which we are currently working through. We don't have a good number.
They have a placeholder for the budget or for the labor contracts.
Will we know the medical piece prior to budget adoption?
I don't believe so.
Not by
Not
December
sure.
2nd,
It won't even come.
not with
it-
Thanksgiving.
it won't- You will probably have to do a budget amendment or leave something to handle that. Because the earliest it would come to the commissioners for first look would be December 3rd. And I don't know where they're at from that standpoint. And budget adoption is on the second.
It's not likely.
I would leave some in contingency for that.
How are we tracking all these things? We should leave in contingency.
We're placing some notes on here so we can go back and
Okay,
identify.
I'm hearing that come up.
Oh, yes,
but I'm not
multiple times.
seeing any numbers being recorded.
We still have 6.9 million.
Okay, good. Maybe we'll be fine.
We're not even halfway through the alphabet.
But we are more than a third way through the lines.
These next one.
Yeah, district court, you have the judge's salary, the alternative funding, they have other funds that they can cover that with, so. We would have them. Yes, we could have them use those other funds to pay for that. Out of that, I think those were mainly due.
Fees as well as their TCIA trial court. Judges have discretion over.
But we don't have a choice in the salary.
We don't. I would point out though that they've averaged
Four.
4 to 10 vacancies over the last 3 years. And if you put 4 vacancies in here at 70K each, it's 280,000. It offsets, more than offsets what their request is. So. It's one solution on how to solve it.
What are their vacancies? Personal assistants.
Mostly, I think.
And like front counter accounting, admin support specialists. I believe.
You're thinking we can get away with 0? That one.
Because they,
Okay.
Between their fees and
And in their
vacancies.
presentation, they did mention that they have significant underspend in 2024's budget, and one of their proposals was to carry some of that forward. So given that they do have that vacancy savings coming to fruition this year, we think it likely would happen again next year.
Economic. Emergency communication, this would be Shrek increased user fees.
Is that just our portion? Is that our portion, the valley's portion?
This is the county's
This is,
portion that would get allocated, this would include our portion and Spokane Valley, so some of this would get allocated back to Spokane through.
and other jurisdictions, because I think we also bill up for Airway Heights,
So
Liberty
we
Lake.
really need to be looking at what our portion is to the general plan. It should be the full portion.
we have the revenue for that built
We do.
in to the budget. We right-sized those contracts.
So
And
probably-
those
So
estimates.
we have to build governmental, even if we pay it out, even if we have revenue coming in, we still have to budget the full expense. And then we have the revenue coming in. We built in the revenue here. In our contracts with outside agencies, we've increased that to cover that.
So in some of those cases, though, it'd be good for us to know what really is our portion, because that's what we're really, I mean, it's.
Under
About 50% of this would be sheriff department, county specific, yeah. But because we've already built in the 105,000 using the 50%, so we do need to build in the full 210.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that from that
Right.
perspective, but
But-
it's also like,
Yes,
I'd really know sometimes too, what are we really spending out of the general fund? Not just from for budgetary purposes, but
Okay.
for actuality, what we're spending.
it would be close to 50%. Between, once we get to all the agencies, we would charge.
Because of all the contracts we have with all the small towns. Okay,
So we good with that, adding the 210? The next one, we've already figured out a way to solve that. We don't need just zeros for both that.
Facilities, this 350 is for an additional building. I would say we can skip that because we also in our budget have not included any rental income. And the rental income would cover this,
okay, so
so
We propose the budget amendment next year, once we have a little more information.
once we have more clarity, so. Okay, so I wouldn't put anything in that one for here.
Wait, so I'm sorry, so we are saying put in the 210 for now?
Yes,
We are, okay. Okay,
executive management, we said 0.
Okay.
Commissioner Kearns, and for facilities, we also said 0. The reason we said 0 there is we have not budgeted the revenue that we would expect to pay for that.
Okay.
Hearing examiner, 42,000, that is a last year when we budgeted, we did not budget for an increase in grade to the position. Had we done that, this would have been a very small increase just for salary increases. So, my recommendation is to do the 42,000. And we will be coming back with a budget amendment for 24 because we did not have it budgeted correctly.
Is she here now?
Yes.
She's been here, I think, since the middle of the year, if not first part of the year.
There's someone in the parking spot next to me. Sometimes it's her, sometimes someone else from Public Works, but.
From her office.
Yeah, it's all good. But that's how I know when she's here, like, oh, ours here.
It's early summer, Ashley doesn't.
Okay, next one is human resources.
I guess the other question I have with the hearing examiner is just an update as to the position. Because it has fluctuated part-time versus full-time over the course of years. And so just to see how full her schedule is and all that.
Correct, and potentially as we go into 26, you know, looking at other ways to maybe cover support.
Resources.
I said fund the employee appreciation and I was going to not do the leadership training. That's just what I put in.
I would prefer that if you're gonna take one over the other, I would definitely prefer being able to do the employee appreciation event still.
So what do we do for employee appreciation, I guess?
I assume those pins, right? Stuff like that.
So it's, yeah, it's stuff like that. It's also like we did each year we do some sort of an employee event, like in January of this last year, we did the big lunch, charcuterie table where all employees are invited. So we try to do one event. The year before that, we brought in an ice cream truck and had the outdoor games. So we try to do an event a year with those funds, and then any additional recognition like pins or certificates or things like that we don't have in our budget.
So that's should have already been in the budget. So I guess what we targeted.
She actually reduced to meet target.
To meet
She's
target,
asked
this
for
was
these to be
reduction.
reestablished. I'm hearing 7 and 0.
I think we should fund the employee appreciation stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, 7 and then 0 for the next line.
Yes.
Okay, for the-
Oh, I thought you said,
So yeah, I thought.
we're
you
either
meant it-
doing
oh,
7
sorry,
or
no.
we're doing.
That's,
2 lines.
God,
2 lines.
wow.
okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Quick question or quick statement back to, or observation back to hearing examiner. I do think it's worthwhile for us to evaluate sort of positions that are identified or fully funded in hearing examiner, board of equalization, maybe other similar positions. Is there an opportunity to combine or reduce utilization? I think kind of part of that goes back to how busy is the hearing examiner. They do work for other agencies as well, filling in for them. So I just raise it as a radar item possibly for next year that we could look and ask for more information from those couple departments.
I mean, I think I definitely want us to, because I think we need to really look at that. And then look at what we're charging back to these other agencies when they're using our hearing examiner. That it's the full cost, not just the cost of the hearing examiner themselves, because it's the administrative cost that go on.
And I said I would follow up email.
Internal services, we can pass on that one.
Do 0, because we're gonna have
Yep.
that come out of a different area.
Now we're down to juvenile.
So my question on this was, were you putting revenue Oh, no, so yeah, so I had put funding for the items, but not the ones that we can use. Sorry,
Use
what's
the DOFB funds.
DUFB, love that acronym. I still can't quite remember that off the top of my head.
Dated.
Youth
Unreserved.
Unreserved
Unreserved fund
Fund
balance.
balance.
I had put in,
About 514,
but I had put in 80,498 for the juvenile correction officer, because I think that's 1/3, like one. I was confused if they wanted 3 new positions or they were just trying to
Fund 3 existing positions.
Are they
Oh, I
all existing?
Yes,
All
I believe
5?
they're all existing. They were not trying to expand their operation at all.
Do we have any-
Okay, I was confused about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they do have vacancies.
Yes, that's not, yes, that does not consider vacancy adjustments.
Okay, so if we put it all in for the first, just for argument's sake, those first 4 lines.
5.
And then you're saying, do you think we should do some sort of vacancy adjustment to that 513,792?
Yes, yep, we would recommend.
9.5 positions are vacant.
3 of those are the corrections officers currently.
So I mean, I think that's, as we know, the problem is like it's not paying enough. So at what point do we have to adjust the pay and not increase the number of employees?
And I think if I recall correctly, Tori said this is yes, the pay is low, but the pay is consistent across the other counties. But we're not the only ones experiencing staffing shortages similar to detention services. We have less, other counties are experiencing very similar to us.
Right, because people can go do something else versus this.
Do they qualify for the retention or the recruitment bonus through?
We do.
We do not, we have not
Our
extended that to them.
recruitment bonus program.
That might be
Yeah, maybe
something
we do that.
to consider when we're in our conversations.
Actually, can confirm, but I'm pretty sure they're not part
Because
of
maybe
the-
that's a way
No.
to keep people, but yet we have to remain competitive with other like jurisdictions, right, with the pay and benefits.
Right, but if you're not getting anyone across any of the jurisdictions for that position, you've got to then start to pay. that
Oh, I
position.
agree. I think we need to figure out a way to incentivize that position. Somehow it's very important.
And these are rep positions, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was an agreement on these wages.
I think we're in discussions right now.
I think, I mean,
Aren't they?
Even was, I think they're probably close to being on. But we did some adjustments to, I think, some specialty pays with them recently, which I think helped some.
but they're still at the end of October, 9.5 days. So.
Some of their positions are grant funded, is that?
uh,
We don't know that all those are.
State funding.
Yeah.
I don't think any for the COs, I think it's more program.
Right, but the 9.5 vacancies, not all.
No, it's not all general.
General
Some of
fund.
it
Yeah.
is. Like,
There's
Mental
mental
health.
health professionals
Yeah.
that have other funding sources to cover them.
Right.
So what do you think the amount should be, Scott?
We had suggested, yes, reestablishing. So the 131 was our target adjustment, put that back in, the additional correction officers, put those back in. But put a 3 FTE vacancy adjustment at about 80K each into that, so a negative 240. Also establish the probation counselor and the part-time registered nurse. So it's adding all those funds, I think the new fees were all revenue offsets, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
our notes were.
it's about.
So 240, 131, 77 and the 64, and then a negative 240 for a vacancy adjustment.
So
Comes to a
it's
total of
270.
272, yeah, that would be the net number,
So 272 total.
yes. Again, if Tori's wildly successful and she gets staffing up, then we'd have to look at some sort of a budget adjustment, budget amendment next year.
So we did the medical examiner.
We already did medical examiner, there's nothing in
So
non-departmental,
what did
nothing
we just
outside
kinda-
agencies, parks and,
That was 5 and 37.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
but
36.
the outside agents number.
Yeah, 176.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we did
176.
for now.
Wait,
Outside agencies.
no, for medical examiner though.
145.
145 and the 36, so it was 181 total.
Oh, so you're doing both?
Oh.
Okay, I didn't put both.
Yeah, I think we missed the 36 original,
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
but I do think it isn't.
Yeah. to keep
Critical.
everybody-
Those are, I mean, those are
Yeah.
just mostly salaries.
Yeah.
You adjusted the top.
Yes, I adjusted the original number for
So we
outside
won't-
agencies,
so
so
we
you
are
do
not-
not need to list a credit there.
Oh.
It has been accounted for,
At the top.
Yeah.
correct.
Oh, but I'm using my own spreadsheet.
Yeah, you're-
so
you're
I'm
on
gonna
your
keep
own.
mine.
Yep,
Keep mine.
yep.
So we did minus one.
Should keep us listed.
Works direct recommendation. Recommendation is to restore the maintenance tech positions. But they've been averaging about 2 FTE vacancies. So we suggested a 2 FTE at 80,000 to a negative 160. So only adding 25 in. And then our outstanding question that we have to get resolved still is the 205 for vehicles and equipment. A couple years ago, the board had set aside some funds from Raceway Park to fund their vehicle. Yes, so we just need to verify that those funds are still there. It's not needed extra. I don't know if we've done that yet.
We have not done that, but we got an email related to that topic yesterday, so we will be
Okay.
closing that loop.
Okay, because I thought it was like a 5-year.
Yep, it was.
Lease the vehicles, so maybe we have committed to that.
Yep, there were lease purchase options, and then we knew at a certain point the funding would run out.
But I think it was out to about the 5 years. I
Yeah.
recall.
So.
So we'll just double check. That may have been funds that rolled into general fund reserves that we may have to pull out, but right now we're just recommending leave it. Just adding an additional 25 for Parks and Rec.
Planning.
With everything going on, I'd recommend just putting the 9 in.
That's really to enable them to support current staffing. So that was.
And they have no vacancies.
Yep, and Aaron adjusted his budget to meet the target, but it was an FTE impact to do that.
My question on that was, are any of these the grant funded positions? That I remember a couple years ago, was it three grant funded positions they had? That when we accepted the grant, we told them that when the grant's done, it's done. The grant ran out and they said, I'd like to keep one of it, and then we funded it. And I thought we had funded it on, we'll give you one more year with the one person that will continue to pay, because the grant's gone. I thought we said, we'll give you 1 year to bridge you with one additional FTE. Is that what this is essentially? That they want to extend this one FTE that we had kind of said?
I thought we got more MacArthur.
That, we have more MacArthur funding for the new 2 positions that we had talked about.
Okay.
This is, I understand, Scott, this is the one that they've lost, right? The one vacant position.
They don't have any vacant positions.
Don't have any
I'm
vacancies.
sorry, pretrial, I was talking about, this is pretrial conversation.
yes,
Yeah.
I thought we just lost one. And they wanted to rehire for that one.
Yes, they did lose a position, but but the person
This is a
who's
different
leaving.
position.
No, it's the same one. This is the one Aaron had asked for.
Okay, wanted to make sure, okay.
But
Person
basically,
leaving,
to
but
meet
to
his
be-
target, he
yes.
had to eliminate a position.
Yeah, the MacArthur ones, the capstone would be separate from this. There'd be a budget amendment to bring those in, and that would be grant funded positions. So I don't recall.
So how many positions, how many people do we have doing pretrial services?
Looks like 11.5 right now with Aaron.
Right there, yeah.
And we'd been up to 14 and a half in 2019.
What Commissioner Kearns is talking about is
MacArthur.
is in 2021, we had 3 grant funded ones. That funding ran out in 22, and we added 1 position to the general fund in 23. That carried forward to 24. So what Commissioner Kearns is talking about is we never did take away that 1 position that became ungrant funded.
And I
General
thought,
funds.
and from what I remember, the discussion was, we'll give you an extra year. But it's gone, plan for it to be
Or find
disappeared
additional
or find additional, yeah. So that, I'm just. My mind is that that's this position. This was the position that we had the discussion that it was intended to go away.
Seems kind of like shooting ourselves in the foot though, to
With the
try to
other-
add with MacArthur, but then take away otherwise. I don't know.
My sense is just the pitch for Aaron. He runs a pretty good shop over there. It's got some, yeah, I think he has done a really good job. It's helping to support a lot of the needs across the court systems and stuff. So, but I understand it's budget challenges.
This team does bring in some revenue related to a contract with the city of Spokane Valley. So there could be an impact on revenues as well if FTEs were reduced.
About 100, just under 200,000.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need to keep it.
Well, you could say it's part of what the extra $750,000 from the city.
Public safety related. Justice. Okay, so putting in the.
Because if we do a better job with the child services, it's keeping them out of our jail facility, right?
So, yeah, and I don't recall that conversation, Commissioner Curry.
No, we definitely did, like, as the MacArthur Foundation, like, it funded 6 positions.
Yeah.
I can't remember the lady's name now. What was the department head?
Cheryl.
Cheryl, thank you. And we're like, she wanted to keep all 6, and we're like, well, we don't. I mean, when MacArthur started, we definitely, I was like, this is to try to do this and see what it's gonna do.
Yeah.
So,
I do remember that conversation, but I don't remember. This is just for 1 year conversation, but that could.
So I would say, I'm gonna be with Commissioner, and say, kind of like reinstate it for this year. And let's really take a look at what's going on there and really understand, you know, presentation to the board as to what's really happening, what's the cost benefit of all these positions. And make a further decision the next year. So adding to the list.
And I think I think having them come in and demonstrate the downstream value impacts is really important. I know Aaron does a really good job tracking metrics and reporting on stuff, so it should be readily available.
All right. Prosecutor. They've asked for 1.5 million. This is to fund all their positions, fund increased, expert witnesses, things like that. They do have quite a few vacancies currently. Still 18. And that's not just attorneys. That's, you know, paralegals, legal assistants.
Yep, legal secretaries, paralegals, several attorneys. There were some positions that when there were assistant chief, deputy, something or others added, we had not inactivated 2, so we will reduce that number to 16 official vacancies instead of 18. So we have corrected that. Thanks to the prosecutor's team.
Okay, that's the adjustment that you'd be making.
Well, if we even said they got to 10, probably looking at. What did we come up with,
I
Scott?
think we said, so again, if they're at 16 today. And they got to 8 by the end of the year, or even 6 by the end of the year, you could do a vacancy adjustment of 10, about $100,000 each, because that's a spread between attorneys and support staff. That would be about $1 million for a vacancy adjustment.
So they would probably need about 550,000.
We did though identify though in their target budget last year, we had already included a $250,000 vacancy adjustment. So we need to add that one back in, kind of similar to our conversation earlier. So
Actually, we wouldn't in this one.
do we also, same thing that we.
Yep, we said everybody's back in.
That's right.
Everybody's
Everyone's
back
full.
in.
What would that look like? And that was our worst case starting point.
What are you recommending we put in for the total?
I would say at least 552. That would be about a 10 vacancy. And if you can, I would leave, again, I would try to leave some money, extra money that you just put into a contingency pot that you have.
I think that what we've heard from them is that they're concerned about if they are better at hiring, of having to come back and go through this whole process. So if we can have a number that is appropriate, right, that's fair, but also
With a cushion.
have a little cushion
Well,
so
they're-
they don't
they're-
have to
That's
keep coming
definitely
back.
the concern that Larry has communicated to me, is that it's been difficult to recruit in. And if we are actually successful at getting a new hire and making the offer, we can lose somebody in a couple of days if we have to wait a couple of weeks to come and get them. That's the.
I would hope you'd come get a contingency long before you're like spending your last.
That shouldn't be a reason
no,
to
not at all.
slow the process down. You'll know, 6 months in advance or even earlier if there any department's being wildly successful hiring to be able to see ahead of it. So
And when they do hire the Rule 9s, they are paid at a hourly rate. And it's not full-time hours, so while they fill a attorney one position, they aren't taking up the full budget allocated to an attorney one position.
So I have a question about the 6 months in advance, because I'm looking at the openings in my office and we don't know who is going to apply. So let's say we get 10 exceptional applicants in the next 2 weeks and we make those 8 offers. How does the 6 month runway work for us?
6 months was just an example. At the beginning of the year, any department has budget authority to spend up to a certain amount. If you get 9 months of the year and it looks like your trajectory is saying, if I keep at this pace, I'm likely going to be over budget because I've been wildly successful hiring people. It's plenty of time to be able to come back to the board and ask for it. It has nothing to do with recruiting. They're two separate activities. Because if you have $10 million in a budget and you get through the middle of the year and you've spent $6 million, that would appear that you're going to probably be overshooting your budget before the end of the year. So
And us just doing a vacancy adjustment is just an estimate. But those positions are there, they're not cut. So we would love for you to fill those positions. It just means we have to adjust a little bit.
They're there, but they're not funded.
they're funded. The vacancy adjustment is basically a contra. It's a
Around.
negative.
It's a prediction that we're not gonna fill all the
Yes.
positions and those
Yes.
will be the state.
It's an average. Yeah.
Okay.
What if we put in like 650 or 700? Is that overshooting, you think?
I was thinking like $1 million just to. I'm hopeful that. I thought they said that they've been doing better. It's pretty,
We've been having some success. I know I have 2 meetings today. I'm hopeful for it.
so.
I think public defenders they've hired a few, right?
Public defenders is only up with 2 vacancies left.
Yeah,
They can't watch.
Yeah, so counsel for defense
Wants to be on the public defense side, Matt.
has had success. Public defenders have had success, so we're next.
Okay, okay,
We're optimistic.
you're in there, you're actively recruiting.
I don't know.
Just looking at the September vacancy numbers, it looks like there was 9 attorneys at that time. So I think we
Vacant.
need to, vacant. 9 vacant attorneys, so I'm agreeing we need to do some level of vacancy adjustment. Personally, I'd lean a little bit more toward leaving enough room that some of those, if those attorneys get hired, we don't have to come back and do a budget amendment. I mean, they have been in here so many times already, so that I get, we need to do an adjustment. Yeah. Hey, I don't wanna
I
hear
get it.
from them anymore.
Who wants to see a lawyer?
I would just suggest we make it a little more than the bare minimum. So that's just a thought.
I mean, I would say let's put $1 million in. I mean, that's an area that we know we've got a little slush of.
Okay, so kind of a vacancy adjustment of 5. as
Yes.
opposed to 10.
Okay, moving on to public defender.
So does he got the caseloads into anticipating?
That's just current caseload.
That is for
Current
outside.
staffing.
That's
outside.
for like paying outside.
That's for outside.
I put like
Out-
$1 million in there because if we don't pay, if he doesn't hire, we still have to contract out the work, correct?
And that's what his caseload number is for outside.
And I believe they were requesting to increase the amount they pay those outside attorneys as well.
And is that included in this?
I believe so.
Okay.
That was our understanding.
Anyway, I was just gonna suggest put $1 million in there. But, cause you said, how many? There's only 3 vacancies now.
There's
I actually, Mike just said
I
there's one
think
now.
he said he's got one coming on board, so only might be one. but-
It's either 1 or 2. Yeah.
There's 6 on the
Oh,
report. at the
maybe
end of
that's
October.
staff, not just
We
attorneys.
had 3 just start the 1st of November.
It's actually they're not-
And
now
I
you
believe
told
there
me
is
he
one
had-
more
That must have been a
starting the next week, so we might be down
Yeah,
to 2.
2
now.
vacancies
Okay.
for attorneys.
Those
I don't
other
know if,
positions.
yeah, I don't know about other.
Where did we land? Actually, there was a lot of.
So
Scatter.
December's like $1 million. I mean, I think it is what it is. So it's like $1 million. I do that as well,
Okay.
just because otherwise we're paying it out.
Yeah, it's contracted out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got $1 million in there then.
No vacancy adjustment for them.
Public records. Let's see.
Well, I mean, we
Second.
did a little cut, I guess, 6, I mean, I don't know, it just, it
It's a part
seems
of our
like if they're vacant, then. I don't know, you don't know how many cases come, you don't know how many get conflicted out, but I don't know what their budget, I know this year that's hard to look at the budget, cause we did the increase to the 40 hours plus. And a salary adjustment, so it's hard to know where they would have been. Under or over budget this year without those changes, right?
And I would say this group is responsible at spending their dollar. They're not gonna go buying frivolous things if they have excess funds at the end of the year.
So public records. So we settled on $1 million.
Yes,
Yes,
$1 million
yes.
for public defense.
Settled at
That's
$1 million.
accurate.
Public records.
Yep.
That's, you guys, it looks like you guys have somewhere to go. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, public records, we do currently have 1 vacancy, but this is to restore them to their 4 positions. They typically don't have vacancies. So this would be 37,000 to restore them to their current staffing level.
Put it in and.
Okay. Purchasing, nothing to go for there. Risk management, there were 2 items. I just rounded to 37,000.
Right, the 365, do we?
Yeah, I just said 37 because I don't like zeros.
Records. Yes, okay.
I'm doing exact.
36.
Randy? Conflict on that methodology.
We're not gonna show it as more, but.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, 36 it is.
Round down, not up. Okay,
Risk management.
so those are just.
It is, yeah,
that looks like.
I was thinking we need the Phoenix, the Phoenix contract.
Were they able to find any savings?
I don't know, I was thinking
I
the payroll,
don't know.
I wasn't sure on their, what was their vacancy?
I guess,
Ashley is,
There is no vacancy. It's a couple, it's like parts of a risk management, plus
one full.
Ben I believe the security manager for campus, as well as the deputy for courthouse security is in here. So it's kind of a mix of a few things as well as the Phoenix. And if we were to someday be able to scale down a security checkpoint, we could probably find savings there, but likely not
Not
now.
Just to
Ashley?
Yeah, so just for awareness, we just found this in the security contract. So unfortunately, when budgets were put in for 2024 and 2025, the wrong rate was used for Phoenix. So I did just literally send this to Randy and Tessa, but our 2025 rate actually, we should be asking for 107,000. It's a different rate. So they're working on that, but just for awareness, it probably just got missed by in the transition of retirement. But they also asked to give us a rate increase for next year, which we've pushed back and said we can't take. But it is off on this spreadsheet right now. So details are sitting in the budget's inbox.
it seems from the overall sheets that they didn't really propose any reductions. Is that accurate? And I don't, there's a big line item in the budget for other professional services, 869,000 that went up. So I'm just asking, seems like lots of the departments try to do something on cutting and I'm just not seeing any here, which
I
is.
think that's the other professional services is when we get our updates and executive session as to all the lawsuits that are outstanding, the different people that are hired in addition for those.
Yeah.
That's correct, Commissioner Kinney.
Do we know what is their
Security.
actual spending pace for this year? I mean, are they right on track? As an
We
actual-
will be sending in a budget amendment for
for more?
this risk management
Okay.
security budget.
Oh,
all right, well.
Some of those are just.
Maybe that's needed.
That's going up, okay.
So what's a total we should put in there? Cause you're saying the Phoenix contract is actually, you're saying 107?
Between the payroll increases in Phoenix, they're asking for 107,000.
Okay. 107 and then 38.
Total.
So.
That
So if we
includes
go
the
ahead
38, John.
Oh, that includes the.
Yeah, that includes the 38. So for those two line items, they're asking for 107.
I would say 100,000.
Okay.
I think we need to figure out where we can.
That's good.
Might be a little bit of
Maybe there.
at least a 10.
Moving on, Sheriff's Office, 3.1 million. This is what they would have to have to keep current staffing with a projected shortfall in staffing. I mean, currently, I think they have 38, 33 and a half vacancies. This should keep them whole. Again, if
They were gonna reduce their positions by 10.
yes,
Correct.
yes.
So they actually took a position.
So then it'd be on 23, so. That's my understanding. We can work with, Under Sheriff Ritchie and to identify those. I don't know if they were eliminating them or if they were just
I think discussion
proposing.
we had, they were eliminating 10. So they could
Okay,
account for,
10 fewer authorized positions.
so they could
okay.
account for the increase in salaries. that are
Okay,
gonna be coming.
we'll follow
So I
up.
think this includes that.
Yes, it
as
does
well.
include.
So I mean, so they've been pretty targeted as to
Yes.
make sure they're taking care of everything.
They are. This next one's.
Can I pause?
Yes.
Does this 3.1 include any kind of vacancy adjustment?
Yes.
On top of the 10? Yes. What is that?
Well, it would, so there was. The budget adjustment was 6 million target. This 3.1 takes them to 2.9. 10 positions of deputies is gonna be about $1.5 million-ish. I think it's about 150 loaded. So that's about 1.2915 is 1.4 difference. That would be about either 9 more positions and or any underspending in areas that they are currently spending less than they budgeted for next year, such as training. You know, with the new training center out there, they have spent less.
Total.
So I don't think we would need a budget adjustment next year. But again, that is always, it could happen. You know, prosecutor could be wildly successful and we need the other 600.
Trying to get you going.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, last one,
Last one.
last two, Superior Court.
I mean, it's what it is. It's all in salaries.
It is all salaries through, they moved to 40 hours this last year. This would be to maintain that at a 40-hour work.
Which makes sense if the vendors and the prosecutors.
Yep. So that's 615.
Is there a vacancy adjustment for them?
I'd recommend two.
Cause I think I had put it like 500, I'm thinking that I was thinking of a couple vacancies here and there.
They do have 2 court reporters.
Yeah, and court
consistently.
reporters are hard to,
When they told us they'd been trying to hire those 2 court reporters
Yes.
for 18 months.
yes. So those 2 court reporters are worth, I want to say 100.
We said 86
Yep.
loaded, 85, 86 loaded, so.
Each.
total.
So
Yeah,
what would
so
that put?
170 of a vacancy. So that would be a net of
445.
445 add.
So 450.
450 I can do. Treasurer, I can definitely tell you the teller, that was not in their budget last year because we didn't have it. They definitely would need, additional budget authority for the increase to teller, which is part of our ERP project. I do know that they moved to 40 hours last year as well. And they don't have a lot of vacancy. They're at 0.4 right now. So they have a full-time position that's filled with a 610 person.
I gave them the 394, mainly because when you look at, they have been one of the departments that has, in my time here, consistently restructured to reduce their FTEs. If you look at sort of their budget increases over like the 8 years I've been here, they have had one of the lowest increases in their budget. They've done a very good job at capping their spending. So I gave them the 394.
And if you look at their.
And they collect all of the money we're talking about. So
If you look at their positions, 33, 32, 33,
down.
and now they're down to 25. And we have to be 5.6, yeah.
I mean, they're one of the departments that as we do the software upgrades and different things, they are reducing their staffing. So I would
They do a great job.
So Tessa is showing that we have 157.4 to move into contingency.
That's with how much in capital? 0 in capital.
And 0,
No.
no, that's with
That's
1
1
million
million.
in
Million in
capital.
capital.
But
I
mine
don't
doesn't
have that.
match.
Yeah,
What do you have? What's your number at the top of yours?
I have 158, but I rounded so.
so you put $1 million in the capital, right? Not 10 million, okay. Oh, sorry,
Good question, Billy.
I'm just putting another 0, okay. I have negative
I could spend-
540.
It's 69,400. I don't know where I was off.
69 and 57.
I thought I followed along
Yeah, I
there.
thought I did too.
All right, we
I
can
just
start at
put
the
it-
Did I
top.
miss something?
remember I'm close.
Yeah, aren't you close to me? Yeah, oh.
Oh, wasn't that convenient?
Yay, I got an ally back here.
The second.
No, I don't know, I
think
could
the
have missed them.
assessor-
So the starting point was 12,328.
Probably the start.
I
No,
don't.
I used the worksheet that you sent out.
Oh, we updated it by 170.
But she included the negative on
Okay.
the outside into
Yeah.
line, so that should have been same.
So we have 1 million for capital, 100,000 animal control, 89,000 auditor, 13,000 BOE, 28 civil service,
28,100.
28 civil service, 352 office. Like,
Six,
You know, I only-
$100 bill
I
there.
know.
Okay.
41, 8,000 management, 3.6.
Oh, wait, what was that? What'd you say? 8,000?
8,000 emergency management.
Wait, 40? Okay, yep, 41 and then the 8,000.
Yep,
Sorry.
3.6 on detention, 210 communications, 42 hearing, 7 human resources, 272 juvie, 181 ME.
I think I,
Just 181.
hang on, can you go back to district
Yes.
court? What did you have at district court?
We had nothing.
Nothing, okay, that might have, there we
After
go.
Add
Alright.
backs and vacancy adjustments,
that was
we,
it.
we
I'm-
rounded around to.
I have your number. I had the
7.
88,000 in a district court there. Okay,
Oh,
I matched yours.
It's in the shared folder, everyone can go save it.
Mine matches your guys's now.
Okay,
With it $100.
that's the $100
What happened to that
that I
$100?
took off.
You're getting it
Good.
right.
Out. Well, 180.
What'd you over out?
So.
And that's your travel budget.
With
That's,
Frank.
yeah, that's, yeah,
Negative.
that's tipped.
Yeah.
Well, I put the 176 for outside because I'm
Yep.
using my own spreadsheet.
Did you do a plus 176?
That's okay. I'm gonna let you guys
Yeah.
go through.
Yeah,
that
we can figure that out, yeah.
And
All
figure
right,
that out.
we'll get with it. All right,
Can I ask a clarifying question? So
Certainly.
you're showing 157 left with only $1 million for capital.
yes,
How
From
much-
general fund.
Right.
That's not.
Correct,
It's
yes.
all
For
money
gen-
to capital, just from general.
And then the 4.5, which you recommended for one time, is the amount for the investment
That's
income
been spent.
in the general fund.
it is
Correct.
the investment interest
Interest income.
for,
But
it
this
it is
already been
part,
absorbed
it is
this year.
part.
Not available to.
Based
if you
on
do this, it's not available to put to capital.
Okay,
Correct.
got it.
That is correct.
So the interest is in here,
Yes,
not.
yes, that is correct.
Might be.
Get to that, yeah.
Okay, so what is the number?
Anything else that we needed?
Oh,
It's 150.
Not from my standpoint.
Jeff does need some ARP time.
Oh,
Yeah.
You guys need to.
Or do we need to do that on Monday morning? Exactly. Jeff,
He's
Jeff
got it.
Morris.
He's listening.
Finn, like it's God speaking.
Hello,
The door will.
Do you wanna come in?
16,
on my way.
Cause we need to get moving here.
Okay.
Maybe the thing. It's a health insurance.
Oh, okay.
That's the agency.
Make that a negative. Oh, wait, no, you're right.
Yeah,
Nope,
they're
you're right.
hiring one at 4 o'clock. today.
Should be a positive.
Yep.
Million. 36, 5. So something's wrong with the.
Something's wrong with your beginning balance.
And then we do still have our special budget on Monday.
Your property tax levy hearing on Monday. And we just need to know what else we need to.
And if we are done today, we would not need that, then.
Okay, but there's other matters that come on through that we're not good.
Correct.
Okay. Jeff, you have like 2 minutes or less.
You sure mine's?
Be very succinct. Here's the.
I don't have it.
I know. Emmer and Josh have another new business to get to.
Okay, if
Just
you
do
want,
it on Monday.
Can we wait till Monday or?
Or
does
is
it have
there-
to be done today?
There's some good updates.
we need to send out 25 contract amendments today. If
Okay.
you guys are comfortable with us doing that and not knowing about them.
I trust you.
We just feel we need to get them in process.
Okay.
Because we want them back by next week, and if they don't come back by next week, we would like the board's permission to issue 30-day notices to anybody who doesn't reply.
How about we continue, I mean, it's lunchtime. How about we continue this till 1 and you guys come back at 1 after lunch?
I'm gonna go to the doctor.
Oh, okay.
I have a school thing. my kid.
Okay.
at 1:15.
All right.
That's why we had to squeeze this one in earlier.
Oh,
We could. Yeah. Let's just, which ones? What are the ones that you think are gonna come back?
The YWCA, George, Chris, Heather met with on Tuesday. We came to terms. They went back to their office. And as anybody in their position would do, would go, well, but if we did this and that and the other thing, we could do blah, blah, blah. And they came back on one line at an exponent of 4 higher than we had agreed to. Bottom line, with George's money, our money, they will have a true reduction of $160,000 out of the 2.2 million that was received. However, a lot of that's because the first 6 months of 23 and the current now up until June, they've received state funding that other people didn't use. And so they've had 2 sets of 6 months where they're not billing us because they have other funding. So they've truly received enough funding, but we need to send them the contract as it was agreed to with George, Chris, and Heather. And as we would do with everybody, we give them to next Friday to return them signed. If they're not signed on Monday, the 25th, we would do a 30-day notice. If they get their contracts back before 12/3 or in time for us to process it, for you guys to vote on 12/3, we would terminate that 30-day notice and get them in on 12/3. But if we don't start the 30-day notice this month, because if they don't sign it, we have to leave all their money in ARP because contractually they could spend it all in the next 30 days and we need to reimburse it. So we can't move that money out of ARP until a special meeting that you guys might have to call into from wherever you're on Christmas vacation. Either on Thursday, the Friday, the 26th, 27th, or Monday, Tuesday, 30th, 31st. So we, you know, so far we have called everyone, and when we get done explaining it, they've been happy. That when we realize fewer restrictions, we're not doing quarterly reporting, we'll do annual reporting, a little bit of flexibility. So everybody's been happy in the end. We do have this funding piece to work through with the Y. And then the Innovia conversation that we had last couple days ago. Our thought, because the legal team has come back saying reasonable and prudent in that situation, works for a whole bunch of reasons. They gave it to us in writing. I can forward that around to you all. As long as you guys are comfortable with us.
They got everything in that they needed to get in as well.
Correct. We went, and they did all of their contracts. They did everything we asked of them. So we can tell an auditor, they had all of this stuff done before we moved it. So we would go to both Innovia and the Y with 2 contracts at the same time. We're severing your ARP, please sign this one.
And just a portion of it, not all of it.
We would take anything that's not spent to date. We'd leave what's spent to date.
Okay.
And so with Innovia, that would be severing a new general fund contract. With the Y, it'd be severing in a new contract with George's shop and with CHG funds. All of the other contracts are just, the contract amendment is the same for everyone except for the budgets. And one mistake we found where for the last 2 years, we've had the wrong scope of work, a little cut and paste. Rockford has been operating under the Northeast PDA scope of work.
Oh.
And I reviewed, I asked them, I go, seriously, how does Wellesley and Garland get down there? Like Freya, I can understand, at least it runs north south, but.
Teleportation.
So that we will also fix their scope of work, but everybody else is just saying these sections no longer apply. Wes has looked at it. So the substance will be the same. We're adding to the contract, explaining the differences. We are, what's that word? No,
Sunsetting.
we're sunsetting ARP at the amount that has been spent to date. That would be effective the last day of November. We are saying the new amount of general fund will be effective on December 1st. All bills that come in by November 19th, that's next Tuesday, we would get to the auditor's office for processing and payment. If bills come in after close of business on Tuesday, we will input them against general fund. We've talked to Tessa about this, but we will not move them forward until the board has voted on 12/3. We'll be acting on faith that we believe we know how the board will vote, but until we have that in writing, we won't start moving them forward. And we've also forecasted that to everyone, get your bills in now. Otherwise, they won't process till the 3rd, so you'll have a little bit longer delay than normal. During this time, we've also taken advantage of time about the ERP and another upcoming delay. So everybody's been happy. We do have a little bit to work on through with the why. But if you guys give us permission to go forward with the way we just discussed, it'll be fine because there won't really be choices that make sense other than signing it.
Did we hear back from Mike Bailey?
Yes, I spoke with Vicky this morning. We don't expect to have a final word until next Friday. But Vicky's comments were she feels we're on track. Things are looking good. And she thinks where we are with ARP, she made the comment, she thinks the swap we're looking at makes the most sense. None of us are excited about it, none of you are excited about it. But where we are with the rules at hand, she said she thinks we should move this forward.
And it's just frustrating that the rules have changed 18 times for everybody. So I mean, I think everybody's just frustrated. So,
The whole country.
yes. But at least you guys have done a great job to ensure that we are spending it and not sending it back. And spending it appropriately.
That's the nutshell, if that's what you guys need. Do we have permission to do, the main thing, do we have permission to do, I don't think we'll need them, I honestly do not believe we'll need them. But worst case scenario, are you guys okay with us sending out 30-day notice letters on Monday the 25th? If only if necessary.
Yes.
Yeah, we turned their.
And then they'll say right in the letter or whatever legal tells
You've
us to
already-
do to make it.
Yeah.
That if they return the contract in time for us to process it on the 3rd, we will nullify or however we legally bring that letter back. But then it will be in place, the clock will have started just in case. The one other group we haven't talked to is ENH Engineering has 5 of the small contracts with water districts. He's always been super responsive, so we're assuming he's out of town. We've left multiple messages and emails the last couple of days. Really don't expect that to be an issue. And then we need to talk about 3,000 and 1,000. Medical Lake.
For Medical Lake and those are just
So with Medical Lake, they have $3,000 left out of a 485,000. Kind of Lake has 21,000 left out of 474. They've promised us their final bill before December 1st. If they don't, we would either just cancel it out or move it in with the others. It's infrastructure. Legal says we can.
I mean, yeah, because
Like we're literally getting $23 back. You're gonna see a resolution for $23. Yes, for Starbucks. From Unite Family Services. Their final bill is in and there's $23 coming back.
Okay.
So
Every dollar counts.
every
Jack.
dollar counts,
Yes.
but you will be seeing a $663,000 reduction in the WISE contract. There'll be a $500,000 give or take. The contract for them will be written. They can't access housing's money until ARPs is fully depleted. And they do get an extra 6 months. We don't believe they'll use all that 5 months, except for the fact is it's state money. And so they can go through June of 27. So on the upside, they are getting 6 more months and a few fewer strings than ARP.
I think you've discussed it a lot with everybody, so I think.
Then,
So I see that when we're off to press conference, I have to say, Josh, handle that, so.
Sure. Whoever wants to be there, we'll work with Martha Lou and we'll get it taken care of.
Sooner than better. Are you going, who's going to?
I may go, I may not, just kind of, that's some family stuff that needs to get resolved.
Okay, so you guys may be zooming in.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you want to do it next.
Yeah, I
week.
would like to zoom in for the votes. Yeah.
Martha Lou had sent a date. I don't remember what it was. But
I think it's next
she
week.
sent an email
Wednesday.
last,
Next Wednesday.
she sent an oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say go for it.
All right, well,
We
we'll make you guys
move
proud.
number two.
Right.
We got it.
Even if I'm.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just
and then
want
we'll
my
move
food
number two
downtown.
to Monday.
You guys. Yeah.
So
I did last year.
we'll take care of that then.
Oh, thank you.
So. Okay, with that then, we will adjourn for today and we will have a special meeting on Monday morning. At 9 o'clock.
Yes.